meeting of the Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD Board of Trustees to order at 7:03 p.m. on May the 5th, 2011. Please join me in standing as James Good leads the board's opening prayer.
Our loving Father, we are truly thankful for this day you blessed us with and for each and every day that you grant us this opportunity. Father, we ask especially that as we are here for this board meeting, and especially we reflect upon the end of the school year approaching, help us to be mindful and encouraging to our teachers and to our students as they prepare for all of their final testing. May we be an encouragement and a guidance for them that they will be successful. And Father, as we enter into this board meeting, give us the understanding to be able to deal with all of the different points of discussion, the issues and concerns we have for this school district, that we're able to address them, but especially help us to work towards solutions for everything that we have to have a solution for. And Father, may we always be here together in respect for each other and respect for everyone in the audience. Help us to always look to you for that guidance, for that encouragement. And this is our prayer in your name. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing as Nancy Klein leads the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. As a district, we dedicate all of our efforts and resources to prepare all students to meet the Texas Assessment of Knowledge and Skills, the TOKS test, at the proficient or the commended level, and to graduate college-ready or workforce-ready without remediation. The board uses this vision to guide all deliberations, decisions, and actions. You will get to see all deliberations, decisions, and actions of the board in open session tonight, with the exception of some items which may be discussed in closed session as stipulated in the Texas Government Code Section 551, commonly known as the Open Meetings Law. These items typically deal with personnel matters, consultation with our attorney, and real estate. For the record, all board members except Mr. Shore are present. Mr. Shore is currently out of town, arriving back in town late tonight. But we do constitute a quorum, and we can conduct business on behalf of the district. With that being said, we'll move on to agenda item 1B, recognition of special guests and announcements. Dr. Burns.
Thank you, Ms. Chaffin. Welcome, everyone. We're so pleased and we're honored that you're spending some of your time with us tonight here at our board meeting, where we talk about the great things that are happening in our district, as well as the business side of the organization that we have to deal with. But always we begin with our special recognitions, and so it's my honor tonight to introduce to you our VIP program. And tonight we will honor our newest members in the very important profession of teaching program. We have been honoring our VIPs for over 24 years in this district. Our VIP program is our way of saying thank you to our professional staff for being innovative leaders in learning who diligently work to meet the needs of all our students. We want to recognize their efforts in making our schools a great place for quality learning to occur. To our honored guests, the Board of Trustees and the administration say thank you. Thank you for being a part of the Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD team and for being an innovator who has a positive influence on the lives of students. Educators, please come forward when your principal introduces you to receive your certificate. If there are staff members, friends, and family here tonight to celebrate this recognition, please stand as your VIP is introduced. And now, Ms. Klein, would you join me in the front to recognize our honored guests?
Good evening, Dr. Burns, members of the board. My name is Joe LaPuma, and I'm the principal at Creekview High School. We are here tonight to introduce you to our newest member in the very important profession of teaching, Miss Suzanne Reese. Suzanne has been teaching students for 38 years, 30 of those years in CFB. During that time, she has worked with the following principals: J.T. Parrish, Carla McGee, Dr. Sheila Mayer, Chris Trotter, and Cindy Boyd. The 30 years in CFB include 17 years at R.L. Turner and 13 years at Creekview High School. Recently, we created a plaque that hangs on our wall of fame and lists each of the 30 VIP recipients in Creekview's 13-year history. Well, lo and behold, Mrs. Reese's name was not on it. When I did a little more research, I learned that Miss Reese is definitely a one-time recipient of the VIP recognition, and that was early in the history of the VIP program, 1987. Well, it's time to recognize her once again, this time as a Creekview Mustang. Ms. Reese graduated from the University of Texas with a bachelor's degree in secondary education. She also has a master's degree in curriculum and instruction from the University of Texas in San Antonio. Her two wonderful children, Amy and Alexander, are Creekview graduates from 2004 and 2006. Suzanne currently teaches U.S. government, a senior leadership class. She's our cheerleader sponsor, our student council sponsor, and our MAP coordinator. All huge jobs. When she said that to Mr. Pouncey a few minutes ago, I think Joe's eyes popped out. Creekview Student Council is one of the most active organizations on our campus and in the state. With approximately 185 members, the CHS Student Council is at the heart of many of the important projects and initiatives that define the environment of our caring, supportive, and positive campus. Whether recognizing student achievement, sponsoring a drug and alcohol awareness campaign, working with Mayor Branson to declare a non-texting and driving day in Carrollton, this group of active student leaders under the direction of Ms. Reese constantly strives to promote citizenship, volunteerism, and leadership. We recently learned that Creekview's 2011 Student Council is once again being awarded the National Gold Councils of Excellence. Ms. Reese is known around campus by students as Mama Reese. Students began calling her Mama Reese in 2002 when she brought food each week to the football team and attended every one of their games. Now when she walks down the hall, you'll hear students say, "Hi, Mama Reese." This nickname has stuck with her for good reason. It's a name that she wears with pride, and every time I hear a student call her that, it brings a smile to her face. Student Nan Lee, our National Honor Society president, had this to say about Ms. Reese. "What can I say about a teacher I trust enough to call Mama? She is the most dedicated, hardworking teacher I have ever met. Most importantly, she possesses empathy for her students. Whether she is cheering at a football game, teaching a diverse senior leadership class, or simply listening to students' problems, Mama Reese puts her heart into it. The reason I trust and respect her so much is because she always puts the needs of others above her own needs. She is selfless, genuine, accepting, and enthusiastic. She is truly an amazing individual, and I hope my brief words can reveal a glimpse of how wonderful Miss Reese is." Another insightful student, Sakina, said the following: "Miss Reese isn't only a teacher, but is a mother figure to many of her students. What makes her so special is that she cares for everyone and always believes in her students, and sometimes students she doesn't even know are having her classes. It is almost impossible to try and describe how great Miss Reese is. She is a terrific person, and she definitely deserves this recognition." Many of the great things that are going on at Creekview and around the district receives tremendous support from Ms. Reese and the wonderful Creekview students. Casey's Run, Special Olympics, Mr. Mustang, the Spring Show, homecoming parades and dances are just a few of the great events where you can find her fingerprints, her cheerleaders, and her student leaders learning about giving back to the community and to the school. As one of the 20 remaining charter Creekview staff members, I am honored to welcome and recognize Ms. Suzanne Reese as a member of Creekview's and CFB's very important profession of teaching.
Ms. Chafin, Dr. Burns, members of the board, I'm Joe Pouncey, principal at Newman Smith High School, and I'm pleased to introduce to you our newest member of the very important profession of teaching, Ms. Jennifer Bridgeforth. Bridgeforth is a great American resource, highly intelligent, highly motivated, and extremely prepared to deliver the best possible instruction to students. She not only is a product of CFB ISD, but a multi-talented graduate of Newman Smith High School. During her years at Newman Smith, Bridgeforth excelled in science and English language arts. She attributes her interest and success in these disciplines to the Newman Smith faculty and staff, present and past, individuals like Sharon Harris in AP English and Carl Jones in AP Chem and Bob Hembry in AP Biology. After graduating from Newman Smith, Bridgeforth continued her education a few miles down the road in College Station at Texas A&M University, where she received, okay, let's not get carried away here, where she received a Bachelor of Science degree in botany and a minor in horticulture. Being the typical Newman Smith high achiever, Bridgeforth decided that one degree was not enough, and she pursued her other interest, English, at the University of Texas at Austin. So she's a little conflicted now. You got okay. In 2005, Bridgeforth received a Bachelor of Arts degree in English with a minor in education. Having degrees in English and science, Bridgeforth decided to acquire teaching certifications in both English and composite science at the high school level. Newman Smith High School was fortunate when Jennifer joined its faculty in August 2007 as a member of the English department. She willingly accepts any teaching assignments and proceeds to elevate students to achieve at keen levels, no matter the class, no matter the challenge, no matter what. Bridgeforth currently teaches the World Experience and Advanced Placement English 3 classes. She embraces the Newman Smith culture of preparing high school students for a world that is constantly changing, a world that does not exist when students enroll in Newman Smith as freshmen. Bridgeforth enjoys gardening, you know, she's a botanist, and playing recreational tennis. In the 4 years she has taught at Newman Smith, Bridgeforth has earned the respect of students and staff for her devotion, keen expectations, knowledge, passion, and creativity in the classroom. Please welcome one of America's best and brightest, our newest VIP, Jennifer Bridgeforth.
Far. You're up next. For our next recognition tonight, Newman Smith Principal Joe Pouncey will introduce students who have been recognized by the National Merit Corporation.
Okay, well, we'll get organized here. Thank you, Dr. Burns. Now, each year, approximately 1.5 million students enter the race for merit scholarships and national scholastic recognition offered by the National Merit Scholarship Program when they take the PSAT exam as 10th graders. From that number, approximately 50,000 students with the highest PSAT scores in critical reading, math, and writing qualify for recognition in this program. Last September, 34,000 of approximately 50,000 high scores on the PSAT received letters of commendation in recognition for outstanding academic progress. These commended scholars were named on the basis of a nationally applied selection index score that vary annually. Now, from this number, about 16,000 of the 50,000 high scores were notified that they qualified as semifinalists. Last February, about 15,000 semifinalists were notified that they were National Merit finalists. And from that number, only 8,400 students will be allowed to continue in the race for merit scholarships to be awarded later this spring. Additionally, top-scoring Hispanic students receive similar honors and scholarships via the National Hispanic Recognition Program, and about 1,600 top-scoring African-American students in the country receive similar honors via the National Achievement Scholarship Program. The top score a student can earn on the PSAT is 240. The cutoff for this selection as a National Merit finalist in Texas this year was about 215. It is our pleasure to introduce to you and the board, we have 10 National Merit Commended Scholars, 3 National Hispanic Recognition Program scholars, a National Achievement Program finalist, and he's a winner, by the way. He's just been notified that he won, and a National Merit finalist for 2011. Also, this spring, a Newman Smith student won first place at the Bill Bank Regional Science and Engineering Fair. But the great news is that this student will be among the top science students in the world to compete at the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair in Los Angeles later this month. Also, this is my last also. Also, for the third consecutive year, a Newman Smith student has won the prestigious Gates Millennium Scholars Award from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. This is the top scholarship program in America. Only 1,000 are given annually to over 23,000 applicants. This program is designed to train leaders for America's future, and it will provide funds that will cover a college tuition from the master's degree to the doctoral level program. Now let's get started. And when I call the students' names, y'all just come on up and we'll introduce parents too. Where's Dice K? Dennis Takeda. Is Dennis here? There he is. His parents are Scott and Tomia Forrest. Now, a Bill Bank a Bill Bank Dallas Regional Science and Engineering Fair winner, who for the second year has been invited to participate at the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair in Los Angeles this month. Now, this competition only invites the best and the brightest, and there'll be hundreds of kids there. And he has been invited. His winning project, and the project that he will take to that international competition, is biodiesel from algae. And he made his own algae, by the way. Biodiesel from algae. He is coached by Newman Smith chemistry teacher Carl Jones. Dennis will attend Southern Methodist University on a President's Scholarship and major in Chinese and finance. Thank you, Dennis. Just stay right there. Our national Hispanic recognition scholars are Hema Muniz. Where's Hema? Is she here? There, come on up. Hema Muniz. Her parents are Reina Muniz and Martin Salazar. Now, she's involved in all kinds of things at Newman Smith, from dance company, gallery in motion, color guard, you name it. She's involved. Symphony, orchestra, National Honor Society, French Honor Society. She will attend the University of North Texas and major in education. Yay. Viviana Cruz. Is she here? Viviana? There she is. Her parents are Terzo and Maria Cruz. She's involved in similar activities, DECA, Academic Decathlon. She's president of Interact, Rotary Club on campus. And she will attend the University of Texas at Dallas and major in biomedical engineering. Our National Merit Commended Scholars now are Fabiola Davila. Where's Fabiola? Is she here? There she is. Also, she is a National Hispanic Recognition Program scholar. Her parents are Beatriz and Jose Davila. She's involved in all kinds of clubs and organizations, including Symphony Orchestra. Now, this is one exceptional young lady. She volunteered her time recently in Cameroon, and she's a traveler, and she's very sharp. She has, matter of fact, she's been accepted in many of the world's great universities. Let's see, Harvard, Stanford, Yale, Dartmouth, just to name a few. And she will attend Yale University and major in international studies and French.
All right.
Peyton Burlew. Mother is Ranja Burlew. Now, Peyton involves herself in AP courses, community service, and work and attends Brookhaven College. She will attend the University of North Texas. She's in the honors college there and will major in psychology. Connor Campbell. See here? Well, Connor is somewhere studying. And parents, Mamie and George Campbell, he will attend the University of Texas at Austin and major in radio, television, film. Let's see, it's Kathy Chan. Kathy? Parents are Sandy and Henson Chan. Orchestra, debate, National Honor Society, academic decathlon, varsity soccer, hospital volunteer. She mows the free parks and lawns, and she does everything. She will attend the University of Texas at Austin and major in biochemistry. Daniel Kuntz. There's Danny. Now, his mother, Laura Kuntz, I don't think she's here. She is a doctoral student, and she's in Austin tonight, and she said she couldn't skip. But is Danny here? He's helping her work on her doctoral program. Anyway, Danny will attend Southern Methodist University, and so major in music and business. Francesco Didio. Mother is Eileen Didio. He is in orchestra and involved in church. He will attend the University of Texas at Austin and major in French and accounting. Jessica Hong. Jessica, are you here? Parents are Joe and Jenny Hong. She's orchestra, National Honor Society, National Spanish Honor Society, art, Carrollton Youth Organization, will attend the University of Texas at Arlington and major in education. Ryan Landrum. That's Ryan. Parents are John Landrum and Rebecca West, involved in robotics club, science engineering pathway, Boy Scouts of America, will attend Texas A&M University and major in electrical engineering. Jonathan Maloff. He's an Eagle Scout, by the way. Parents are Elizabeth and Mark Maloff. Robotics, band. Did I say he's an Eagle Scout? Eagle Scout. Will attend the University of Texas at Dallas and major in mechanical engineering. Samantha Olson. Parents are Tyler and Paula Olson, involved in ROTC academic team, will attend the University of North Texas and major in social sciences. Now, our National Achievement Program, our National Achievement Recognition Program finalist and award winner and Gates Millennium Scholar for Newman Smith is Lance Banks. Is Lance here? Parents are Rosalind Banks and Albert Francis. Now, Lance is the third consecutive Gates Millennium winner for Newman Smith High School. He joins Celeste Russell and Rainey Hatley and others to win this award the last couple of years. He's involved in band and in orchestra, symphony. And Lance has been accepted in every, I guess, prestigious college in the country. I was looking him up this morning. He's Stanford, Harvard, Rice, Princeton, Yale, Columbia, Dartmouth, Northwestern, University of Chicago, USC. But he decided that he will attend Yale and major in psychology.
Wow.
Lance Banks. Last but not least, our National Merit finalist is Megan Kling. Her parents are Curtis and Yvonne Kling. She's national. Now, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Did I not? Oh, okay. Okay. She's a National Honor Society, National Spanish Honor Society, band, theater, Girl Scouts, community volunteer. She is a versatile young lady, very sharp. She will attend the University of Miami and major in music education. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our scholars from Newman Smith High School for a job well done.
They said they wanted their picture with you.
I don't. My glasses off.
For our next student recognition, Creekview Principal Joe LaPuma will recognize students who have been honored by the National Merit Corporation. Mr. LaPuma.
Good evening once again. There is some serious brain power in here tonight. Creekview High School is pleased to honor a total of 15 students for 4 different achievements this evening. We have 3 National Merit finalists, 7 commended scholars, 1 National Achievement Award winner, and 4 National Hispanic Recognition recipients. Approximately 1.5 million high school juniors take the preliminary SAT, National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test, each year. Only 16,000 seniors are named semifinalists, representing less than 1% of the top high school seniors in the United States. About 15,000 finalists are named in February and are eligible for merit scholarships. I am pleased to introduce 3 of our students from Creekview High School being recognized as a National Merit finalist for 2011. When I call your name, students, please come forward, and parents, if you are here, please stand. Our first recipient is Elizabeth Campbell. Elizabeth is the daughter of Keith and Cheryl Campbell. She attended Kent Elementary School and Blaylock Middle School. She is head drum major for the Creekview Band and a member of the Creekview Wind Symphony. She also serves as an executive officer on the Student Council and is a member of the National Honor Society and the National Spanish Honor Society. She plans to attend Texas A&M University and major in chemistry. One other small fact, Elizabeth is also Creekview's 2011 valedictorian. Our second recipient is Adam Ergus. Adam, are you here? Adam is the son of Patricia Conlin and Timothy Ergus. He attended Kent Elementary and Blaylock Middle. Adam serves as a logistics director of the Creekview Orchestra and is a member of the Key Club, Student Council, and a member of the National Honor Society. He plans to attend Texas A&M University and major in aerospace engineering. Our third recipient is Alora Silvas. Alora is the daughter of Kent and Carrie Silvas. She attended Thompson Elementary and Dan F. Long Middle School. She currently serves as a historian for the Creekview Orchestra, historian for the National Honor Society, and is an executive officer for the Student Council. Alora plans to attend American University in Washington, D.C., and major in biology and minor in international studies. Alora Silvas. We would also like to recognize our students named as National Merit Commended Students in the 2011 National Merit Scholarship Program. Of the more than 1.5 million students who entered this competition, only 34,000 commended students throughout the nation are being recognized for their exceptional academic promise. These students rank in the top 5% of all students who took the qualifying test. I'm pleased to introduce 7 students from Creekview High School being recognized as National Merit Commended Students. Our first recipient is Alexander Auerbach. I think Alex is also at a band event tonight, but Alex is the son of Mark and Amanda Auerbach. He attended Furneaux and Dan F. Long Middle School. He serves as the president of the Law Academy Advisory Board and is a member of the National Honor Society. Alex advanced to state as lead attorney for mock trial this year. He plans to attend the University of South Carolina in Columbia and major in philosophy. Our second recipient is Lilia Ben Hassin. And I know Lily is not here tonight, but Lilia, let's give her a round of applause. I've known her since the 6th grade, and Lilia is the daughter of Lelia and Mohammed Ben Hassin. She attended Good and McCoy Elementary Schools and Perry Middle School. She is a member of Student Council and serves as principal oboist for the Creekview Wind Symphony. Lilia also received an academic UIL award for literary criticism. She will be attending the University of Texas at Austin and major in aerospace engineering. Our third recipient is Kelsey Drake. Kelsey. Kelsey is the daughter of Lynn Reagan, who, by the way, is a wonderful Creekview staff member. Kelsey attended Rosemead and Kent Elementary Schools and Blaylock Middle School. She is the president of the National French Honor Society and secretary of the National Honor Society. This year, she was awarded first place in district for individual accounting and 6th place in regionals. She plans to major in accounting at the University of Texas at Dallas. Kelsey Drake. Our fourth recipient tonight is Mr. David Garner. David is the son of John and Karen Garner. He attended Rainwater Elementary School and Blaylock Middle School. He is the president of the National Spanish Honor Society and a member of the National Honor Society. He is also a member of the Creekview varsity men's basketball team and has an awesome three-point shot. David plans to attend Rice University and major in physics and chemistry. David Garner. Our fifth recipient is Muhammad Akbar Sajjad. Akbar is the son of Agha Ali Safdar and Kaniz Fatima. He attended Farine Elementary in Irving, Audubon Park Elementary in Orlando, and Blaylock Middle School. He currently serves as an executive officer for Student Council and is a member of the Key Club, National Honor Society, National Spanish Honor Society, and Academic Decathlon. Akbar will be attending the University of Texas at Dallas and majoring in biomedical engineering. Akbar Sajjad. Our next recipient is Elizabeth Tensmeyer. I don't think she's here. Elizabeth is the daughter of Kermit and Kathy Tensmeyer. She attended McLaughlin in Kent, as well as Blaylock Middle School. She's a member of the National Honor Society and is a member of the Academic Decathlon team, as well as the Creekview Choir. Elizabeth has served as a historian and assistant librarian for the Creekview Orchestra. She will be attending Brigham Young University, pursuing a major in communications disorders with a minor in music. That's Elizabeth Tensmeyer. Our seventh recipient is Jasmine Romlal. Jasmine is the daughter of Dion and Janet Romlal. She attended Pulsar Elementary, Universal Academy in Irving, Universal Academy in Flower Mound, and Universal Academy in Coppell. She is currently serving as president of the Bridging the Gap Mentoring Program, vice president of the National Honor Society, and secretary of the Creekview Choir. She is also a member of the senior exec and has received Crimson Honor Awards 3 years in a row. Jasmine plans to attend the University of Missouri or the University of North Texas and major in broadcast journalism. In addition to being a commended scholar, Jasmine was also selected by the National Merit Corporation as a 2011 National Achievement Scholar. The National Achievement Scholarship Program is an academic competition established to honor Black American high school students. Of the more than 160,000 students who enter the program, 3,100 have been honored as an outstanding participant by the National Merit Corporation. Breath. Last but not least, we're going to recognize the National Hispanic Recognition Program conducted by the National Merit Scholarship Corporation. This was established to identify outstanding Hispanic Latino high school students. This year, the program recognized nearly 5,000 of the highest scoring students in the United States and U.S. territories from a pool of over 200,000 individuals. I'm pleased to introduce 4 students from Creekview High School being recognized by the National Hispanic Recognized Program. I know Greg isn't here because I spoke to him today. He is preparing for an upcoming theater performance. But our first recognized student is Greg Daniels. Let's give him a round of applause. Greg is the son of Monica and Tony Daniels. He attended Sheffield and Dan F. Long Middle School. Greg serves as president of the GSA and is very actively involved in the Plano Dance Theater Performance Ensemble. He plans to attend Parker College of Chiropractic and study massage therapy. Our second recognized student is Lorena Lugo. Lorena is the daughter of Augustine and Teresa Lugo. Lorena attended Foster Elementary in Dallas and Blaylock Middle School. She is a member of the National Honor Society, National Spanish Honor Society, Student Council, and Leadership Team. She is also a member of the Moving Ground Dance Company and is very actively involved in her church. Lorena is planning to attend either Texas Tech University or the University of North Texas and major in studio art. Lorena Lugo. Our third recognized student is John Pena. John is the son of Nick and Pam Pena. John attended Good and Kent Elementary Schools and Blaylock Middle School. John is the president of the Creekview Band, a member of the National Honor Society. He plans to attend Colburn Conservatory of Music in Los Angeles and study bassoon performance. Jack Pena. Our fourth and last recognized student is Christina Grace Solomon. Grace is the daughter of Jessica Solomon. She attended Rainwater Elementary School, Martha Brown Middle School in Rochester, New York, and Blaylock Middle School. She currently serves as the Color Guard Commander for the Naval Junior ROTC and is a member of the National Honor Society and the National Spanish Honor Society. She is also an executive officer for the Student Council. Grace plans to attend Vanderbilt University and major in biology/pre-med. Please. Is Miss Romhall here? Yes, Jasmine, come on in and be recognized. Jasmine, were you here when I read your information? I wasn't. Well, I'm going to read it again, okay? Jasmine is the daughter of Dion and Janet Romlaw. She attended Pulsar Elementary, Universal Academy in Irving, Flower Mound, and Coppell. She is currently serving as president of the Bridging the Gap Mentoring Program. She's a vice president of the National Honor Society and secretary of the Creekview Choir. She is also a member of the senior exec and has received Crimson Honor Awards 3 years in a row. Jasmine plans to attend the University of Missouri or the University of North Texas and major in broadcast journalism. In addition to being a commended scholar, Jasmine was also selected by the National Merit Corporation as a 2011 National Achievement Scholar. The National Achievement Scholarship Program is an academic competition established to honor Black American high school students. Of the more than 160,000 students who enter the program, 3,100 have been honored as outstanding participants by the National Merit Corporation. She also has a great voice. Jasmine Romlaw. Please help me congratulate all of our outstanding students. We're very proud of each of them and their outstanding accomplishments.
No, not yet. No.
As Mr. LaPuma said, we are surrounded by brain power, but it's all out there. Students, congratulations again. In March, we had an extremely successful Casey's Run. And tonight, Executive Director of Student Services, Mr. Kim Holland, and representatives from the Casey's Run Committee will present this year's proceeds to the All-Stars, our Special Olympics team. Mr. Holland?
Thank you, Dr. Burns. I can't find it.
Just a little technical help.
I need a lot of help. There you go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
As Dr. Burns said, my name is Kim Holland. I was not a National Merit finalist. But before I start, I'd like to ask... Thank you very much. Somebody has to represent everyone else. I'd like to invite Mel Breckus and the rest of the Casey's Run team to come on up to the front, if you would. That includes Miss Mahaffey and the coaches. That's everybody involved in Casey's Run. Y'all still sitting back there. Come on up. Come on. Leslie, Kim, Nada. Waiting on Miss Mahaffey. Thank all of you for joining us at the front. First of all, I'd like to thank Mel and Candy and Tom and Mandy, who are the immediate Breckus family, also Teddy, Candy's mom, who she's with now today, for being a part of this wonderful legacy established in Casey's name. When I think about this run and what it's become, and think about all the high schools working together, the contributions by the middle schools and the elementaries, a passage in Isaiah popped into my head, and I wanted to share it with you. Unto us beauty is given from ashes, the oil of joy from mourning, the garment of praise from the spirit of heaviness. We've taken a tragic situation in the loss of a loved one that we had, and a very special young lady. And all of you have taken this, and it's not because of the tragedy, but it's the way people have responded to the tragedy and made something truly beautiful out of it. All the things that are being done in the name of Casey and her contribution. She loved this run, and she would love to see all of you participating in it now. Because of you, all of the athletes are part of the Special Olympic team in Carrollton-Farmers branch, have beautiful uniforms. They're able to participate in athletic contests all year. They're able to travel because of the work done by you and your classmates at all of our high schools, our middle schools, and most of our elementaries. I also want to thank the adult liaisons. Are there any adult liaisons in the audience today? Of course. You must join the group of These people have played a huge part in getting their campuses involved in this. We had one middle school that raised over $600 this year. As you know, Ms. Reese from earlier is a member of the Creek Youth staff and is a strong believer in this and has her group very much involved in this, as do the other high schools. Thank you again for all that you do there. One other group that I wanted to mention before I sit down is to remind you again that all the funds raised stay right here in Carrollton-Farmers branch for our own Special Olympians. I also want to thank the CFB ISD Educational Foundation, the Healthcare Chiropractic Group, A1 Air Conditioning, Louisville Autoplex, the family of Casey Breckus, the Bank Robbers, Alpha Graphics, and all the friends of Casey. All of these people have contributed to make this event so very special. This year, we raised more than we did last year. This year, we're contributing a check of giving a check rather of $20,100 to the Special Olympians of Carrollton-Farmers branch. So congratulations.
Y'all get it to like really squeeze together like you really love each other.
My former student.
Right, you really, really like each other. Perfect, perfect, perfect.
Congratulations.
Dr. Burns, there is one more group I want to mention. I got permission while I was standing there by Mary. Mary Mahaffey, Pam Pena, and Delana Laxon work on this all year long, and I just wanted to say a special thanks to them.
It truly was a group effort from staff to students to the whole community, so we appreciate your support in such a great cause. We have one more recognition tonight, and our Associate Superintendent for Administration and Support Services, Mr. Mark Hyatt, will present the IAQ Tools for Schools National Excellence Award.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. And if I may, I'd like to ask Victor Melton to come forward. And while he's coming, Dr. Burns, I'd like you to come get this little piece of glass here. It's kind of nice. Victor, and while you're coming, I'd like to read a little note, and it's information from the Environmental Protection Agency and some information about Victor and a program that he established. So one of our district objectives is to continuously improve the learning environment for students and staff. Several elements of the learning environment relate to our physical surroundings. We take great pride in Carrollton-Farmers branch in providing a comfortable, safe, and healthy environment to support our efforts to achieve high academic success. Tonight we are recognizing a team that has received national recognition for their efforts in this area. At this time, if everyone in the audience has worked on Tools for Schools and our indoor air quality program, would you please stand while I read the rest of this? Thank you. The Carrollton-Farmers Branch Independent School District has been honored by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's 2010 Indoor Air Quality Tools for Schools National Excellence Award for its exemplary efforts to improve indoor air quality for students, teachers, and staff. The IAQ Tools for Schools Award program was initiated to recognize schools and school districts that have demonstrated an outstanding commitment to improving children's health by promoting healthy indoor air quality and developing effective and sustainable plans for managing indoor air quality in their schools. Several years ago, Victor Melton, CFB ISD's environmental and energy specialist, implemented an indoor air quality management program that incorporates all facets of our organization through education and training to achieve the ultimate objective of providing a healthier learning and working environment. This program was based on the EPA's Tools for Schools program and utilizes a team approach to allow the district to increase the efficiency and effectiveness of the program's efforts. Not only does this process facilitate necessary repairs and maintenance to equipment, but it also educates our staff in ways to improve their own environment. Mike Flynn, the EPA's Director of Radiation and Indoor Air, released an announcement recently which included the following. Carrollton-Farmers Branch Independent School District is demonstrating national leadership through its commitment to promote healthy indoor air quality in their community schools. Their work is helping to protect the health and and support the performance of students, faculty, and staff. We are proud of their valuable efforts and commend them on this outstanding accomplishment. I'm personally extremely proud of the work that Victor has done. Victor will be the first to tell you that this program has only been successful because of his entire team. Some of the people involved in this program are Renee Putter, our athletic director, Susan Shipp, the science coordinator, Patty Jo Niersty, our safety and insurance coordinator, Teresa Lyons, our health services supervisor, Rosalie Getz, our occupational health nurse, Johnny Hibbs, our executive director of facilities and transportation, Tom Bell, our construction supervisor, Wade Lilly, our security and operations director, Roland Donnell, our maintenance director, Melvin Beckham, custodial department head, and Terry Vandenberg is a major player in leading our heating and air conditioning department. But more important than that little short list of names I read is the involvement that Victor has been able to achieve in all of our schools. The staff and students in our schools are really what makes this program work to improve their own air quality and environment in their schools. So Victor, good job, and thanks a lot for what you do for our district.
That concludes our recognition tonight, but we would like to share some upcoming announcements with you regarding the school district. So if you'll look at the screen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We hope everyone is having a great night as we deliver our monthly installment of the Carrollton-Farmers Branch Board announcements. Although we are sad to be winding down, we are definitely excited about recharging our brains during the summer break.
And speaking of summer break, we have some very important announcements dealing with end-of-year procedures for our students and staff as we count down the remaining school days.
First off, mark your calendars for Monday, May 30th. This is an official district holiday as we celebrate Memorial Day. All schools and district offices will be closed. This will be a great day for students to relax or maybe study before the last week of school, which brings middle school and high school exams.
We have 2 early release days that week on Wednesday, June 1st, and Thursday, June 2nd. The early release schedule is as follows. High schools will release at 10:35 a.m. on June 1st and 2nd, and middle schools will release at 12 p.m. noon. Both middle schools and high schools will have an exam bell scheduled for these days as well. Elementary schools release at 12:45 p.m. and B. Salazar will release at 10:35 a.m. Mary Grimes will not release students early on these days. Buses will be on a modified schedule for our schools. Please check with your schools for those times. The last day for students in CFB is June 2nd, and unfortunately, teachers have 1 extra day of work and get out for summer on June 3rd.
And what better way to celebrate the end of the year by honoring all of our students who will be graduating from our district high schools after 12 years of hard work. Graduations will take place on June 3rd and June 5th this year.
Early College School will be in the Performance Hall on the Brookhaven College campus on Friday, June 3rd at 7 p.m. All of the rest of the high school graduations will take place on Sunday, June 5th at the University of North Texas Coliseum. The schedule is as follows. Creekview High School will be at 9 a.m. Ranch View High School will be at 1 p.m. Newman Smith High School will follow at 4 p.m. and R.L. Turner High School will be the last graduation of the day starting at 7 p.m.
Congratulations to all of our graduates as you take the next step in your life. We have one more important announcement before we leave you tonight. Election day for local elections is Saturday, May 14th. Early voting continues through Tuesday, May 10th. You can find a list of early voting locations by visiting the election information page on the district's website, www.cfbisd.edu.
That's it for tonight's announcements. Don't forget your next board meeting will be Thursday, June 2nd at 7 p.m. And our next school board work study session will be on Thursday, June 23rd at 6:30 p.m. For more information about what you heard tonight, or for all your CFB news, make sure to visit our website at www.cfbisd.edu. Good night and good night.
Goodbye and good night.
We'll give them a hand. That's a great one. And that concludes our announcements tonight, Ms. Chaffin.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. To our VIPs tonight, thank you guys so much for what you do. We really do appreciate it. We recognize what a difference it makes in the lives of our students with what you give them every day, and you've done this for year after year, Ms. Reese, and you've got a lot of years that we're looking forward to hearing about. To our commended scholars at Creekview and at Newman Smith, the brain power in this room, you're right, is just incredible. We are so proud of you guys, and we are so looking forward to seeing what you can do as you continue to grow and you continue to learn and you start to contribute to our society. And parents, we really reflect on how much you mean to your children and how much a part of this you are. So congratulations to you as well. Casey's Run, you know, you guys just keep on giving, and you are an inspiration to us. The Breckus family, we appreciate you so much for including us in this effort and letting us be a part of your life. Thank you so much to all of those who work so hard every year to help sponsor and to forward our Special Olympics here in Carrollton-Farmers branch. And to our indoor air quality team, you know, it means a lot to students to have a clean and safe place to come, places where they don't have allergies and they don't have other problems that occur in some places. We thank you for what you do, and we're grateful for the recognition that you have brought to our schools. At this time, we're going to take about a 10-minute break so that those of you who don't want to stay with us the rest of the evening have a chance to exit gracefully. So we will take a recess at 8 o'clock, and we will reconvene at 8:10. Thank you. I didn't leave anybody out. Back to order at 8:10 p.m. We'll move on to Agenda Item 2, Report by Superintendent. Item 2A is Presentation on Student Achievement, the new State Assessment System, STAR. Dr. Burns?
Thank you, Ms. Chaffin, members of the board, and for the public. You've heard many things in the news about the state's new accountability system and what's going to be in the future for our students, and so we thought we'd take tonight to explain to you a little bit more about the complexities and the nuances of the state's new accountability system for students. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Mayer for the introductions and to begin the presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. Yes, there is change coming in the assessment and accountability system beginning next year. It's a little complicated, as they say, and we don't have all the details nailed down, but we think it's important to share with you what we know at this time. Dr. Cloyd Hastings, our Executive Director of Assessment Accountability, will be participating in this presentation, as well as Corey Edmondson, who is our Coordinator of Assessment and Accountability. And this is Corey's first opportunity to get to address the board in her new role, so I'd like to tell you a little bit about Corey at this time. First of all, and I don't know if Joe Pouncey's still here or not, but she's a graduate of Newman Smith High School. And we like to hire our own, and we're very proud of that. Corey received her bachelor's and master's from University of North Texas, and she is currently working on her doctorate there. She taught in the district at the elementary levels, been an educational diagnostician, and now is serving in the role of assessment accountability. Corey will talk with you about the assessment program, and then Dr. Hastings will talk about the implications for the accountability program. Ms. Edmondson.
Thank you, Dr. Mayer. Dr. Burns, board, thank you for allowing me this opportunity to update you on our new assessment system. Some of us here took tabs, teams, and TOS. Some of us taught it, but we've all been through the changes, and STAR is just another one of these changes that we will successfully make with our students. You may hear us refer to it as STAR or EOC. EOCs are the high school component of the STAR, or the State of Texas Assessment of Academic Readiness System. We shorten the high school to just EOCs, but STAR is the name for the entire new system. One thing that the state does keep telling us, although they don't tell us everything, as Dr. Mayer said, they do keep telling us it will be more rigorous. And they keep saying that there will be a greater emphasis on college and career readiness. We won't see a lot of changes in the grades and subjects tested for 3 through 8. We will see more changes in high school, where we move to 12 end-of-course assessments for the 4 core subjects. And so visually, like I said, you'll still have the 3 through 8 in reading, math, writing, science, social studies. But the high school is where the great changes come. Rather than a grade level assessment, you're now going to have course specific, which will be nice because you have students who are in different sequences in their high school courses who may then have to step back and say, oh, I need to remember what I learned, in Algebra 1 when I was in 8th grade, or I may need to remember what I learned in geometry when they haven't just taken that class. Now with the new system, they will be tested on the content of the course they're in. And with the new system, students begin, when they start earning high school credit, that's when they start working for graduation. Now we have the tax exit level, they pass the 4 their junior year to graduate. Their need to pass tests in order to graduate begins with the first course they take that they receive high school credit for. So this will be a major change for some of our students. When we talk about the increased rigor, when you look at the content standards that are eligible for being tested, 30% of the standards are readiness standards and 70% are supporting. By readiness, these are things that are essential for success in that grade level, and they're important to know well to do well in the next grade or course. They support college and career readiness, and it requires in-depth instruction over broad and deep ideas. Supporting standards may be emphasized in the next year as a readiness standard, or they may have been a readiness standard in the previous year, but they are important for preparing a role for the student to learn something, but they're not as critical as a readiness standard. And while the readiness standards only comprise 30% of what the child learns at that grade level or in that course, it will comprise 65% of the test. So that means that students are going to be tested on much higher level material, things that require more complex problem solving, the higher cognitive levels, TICs that we address. The new performance standards. We're used to Met Standard and Commended. We have new names. What we know, the terminology we're used to of Commended will be called Advanced Academic Performance. You'll have Satisfactory Academic Performance as well as Unsatisfactory. So if a student is at the advanced level, we know that there's a high likelihood that they will succeed in the next grade, the next course, without needing academic intervention. At the satisfactory level, there's a reasonable likelihood that they will succeed at the next grade level or course, but they may need some short-term targeted intervention because there could be some gaps even though they've met that satisfactory level. And if they're unsatisfactory, they're likely to need significant or ongoing academic intervention. The performance levels of satisfactory is likely to be phased in over the next couple of years, by meaning that next year what a student needs to get, the number they need to get correct to be satisfactory will be a little higher the next year and a little higher the next until we reach the level that the commissioner has set. But to meet the advanced academic performance level, that level goes in where it's set from next year on. It will not increase each year. As I said, our graduation requirements change beginning with the freshmen next year. Those are our current 8th graders. They will be required to achieve a score in each subject level that indicates satisfactory performance in that subject. So in English, on their English 1, English 2, and English 3 exams, they will need to meet a satisfactory level in order to receive credit for those exams to be able to graduate. And students must take an EOC for any class they're going to receive high school credit for. So in all the 12 areas that there's testing, if they receive high school credit for it, either through accelerated online instruction, through dual credit, they must take an EOC for it. That's how the statute reads at this time.
So that means if they take dual credit at a college and they pass the college class, they still have to come in and take the high school end of course exam.
Yes, and I say at this time because TEA is looking into that, because the whole point of the EOCs is to make sure that they are college ready. And you would think that dual credit and earning college credit would mean you're college ready. But at this time, the way the statute reads, unless something changes with our session going on, they do have to take it. Everyone says, yay, tax is going away. Well, tax is being phased out in high school. So this year, all the students will graduate under tax. Next year, 9th graders move under the EOC to graduate, but 10th and 11th and some 12th grade retesters will still have tax. And it goes each year until we won't have anyone who will be graduating under tax. But we will have tax retesters with us for some time, but it will be smaller and smaller. And then we have students who are served by special education, and not every student served by special education now takes a tax modified or a tax alternate test. We have many students who are served by special education or our English language learners who take the general tax test that any other student in the general population would take. And in STAR, the students will either take STAR, STAR modified, or STAR alternate if they're served by special education. Our English language learners will take STAR or STAR L, as it's being called, as well as TELPAS, which is a test that the students take now that measures their growth in English language proficiency. And the key to the STAR modified and STAR alternate, while they do adjust them to take into account the students have some learning differences and some needs there, they will increase the rigor with these tests just as they will with all of STAR. So for our new testing system, the rigor is greatly being increased, as you could tell by the fact that the students have a small window of readiness standards, but that will be the greatest portion of their testing.
One of the things about getting older is you get a little wiser. I had the forethought to give her the more difficult task, and I have the easier task of talking about the new accountability system, and it's easier only because we know less about it. There's just a lot of missing pieces to the accountability system, and a lot of this is not because TEA is down there trying to hold the cards close to them. It's because the legislature is meeting, and things are a lot of items are up in the air on that. And this has been a long-term development, and the first phase of that development had to focus on the development of the actual test. The accountability then is dovetailed with the new assessments. And so they haven't made as many decisions about what the new accountability system will look like as they have how the new test will look like. Student performance will be measured primarily, as Corey said, on the passing standard and on the readiness standards. And the new accountability system will really focus on those two aspects. And again, as Corey explained, the readiness standard is not just a college readiness, it's the readiness for the next grade or the next course. And there will be some increased, not only rigor in the test, but rigor in the expectations of what it's going to take to have a campus or a district achieve higher ratings, because that readiness standard is going to up the scale by quite a bit. Simultaneously with the development of the new accountability system that's tied to STAR, the state is also looking at the new accountability system for the AYP, the federal annual
Yearly progress.
student progress, but I always get AYP, adequate yearly progress. Thank you. We're also looking at developing the new accountability reporting system, the new performance-based monitoring analysis system, which looks at our federal programs, and they get monitored separately and have a whole distinct list of criteria that gets measured every year. And they'll be looking at the alternative schools like Mary Grimes. They'll be going through a major revamp of their accountability systems as well. The long-term goal of the new system is to focus on the college readiness performance indicators that will increase until you get to a level that the governor is really pushing for, that Texas will rank in the top 10 of the states nationally on these two measures, the percent that are college ready and the percent of graduates under the recommended or advanced high school program. In other words, we're trying to minimize the minimum graduation program. And then the caveat at the bottom is with no gaps by race, ethnicity, or social economic status. So this is a very bold projection and goal for the state, because we are not in the top 10. We're not close to being in the top 10. So we are focusing to get ourselves back into being one of the most competitive states in the country. As a sidebar, it'd be nice if we had the funding to do that. We will also be looking at other indicators other than just the STAR indicator. SAT and ACT performance, while it has been measured in the current accountability system, it has been as a gold acknowledgement. It's been sitting out over here as something you kind of tack onto it. Under the new system, it is probable, and again I have to use that language of probable because not everything is set in stone, that ACT, SAT performance will become an integral part of how a campus or a district achieves the higher ratings. And we'll also be looking at other indicators such as the 21st Century Workforce Development Program, and English language acquisition for our non-English dominant children. Campus distinctions are going to come into play, and these are going to help identify whether you're going to be recognized or exemplary. And again, those are focused on college readiness and career readiness. And what this really means, the bottom line in all this, is that we've been living under a system, whether it was tabs, teams, toss, tax, in which our accountability system was tied to the percent of kids that made it passing, that made it to the minimum mark. That's been our structure. Theoretically, under the new system, you could have 100% of your kids on a campus or in a district meet minimum standard, and you are not going to be recognized, and you're not going to be exemplary. That's a huge shift. So the test is more rigorous. The accountability system goes with it is much more rigorous. Again, one of the campus designations that they're looking at, likely to include, is that a campus must be in the top 25% in the state in annual improvement. Campuses must be in the top 25% of those demonstrating ability to close performance gaps, and for academic performance in the four core areas. We don't know yet how that's going to structure out, but you can see that if we're looking at defining a number by percentage of districts or campuses that can be recognized or exemplary, this is another radical change, highly radical. So we don't know how we're going to fit in that yet, but we know that the challenge is before us, and so we are in pretty good shape. And we're going to continue to bring you evidence of why we think we're in pretty good shape. You've already had some exposure to one of those instruments, and we think we're going to be there with that top 25%. In fact, our goal is to be in the top 1%. Okay, also under the current legislation, or the guidelines that we're under from the last legislative development, we had a system that will require 45 performance indicators. And you'll recall that over the years that has been expanded. We started off under TOS with 25. The 5 subjects, the 5 groups that we're held accountable for. 5 times 5, 25. Okay? And then we added graduation rate, and then we've added some other things. Under STAR, we'll have those same 25, the 5 by 5, and then 10 STAR for meeting readiness standards. And so you're going to have, for reading and for math, those 2 times the 5 groups will be 10 more indicators. So those are going to be those kids that meet that higher level. And then we're going to have the 5 student groups looking at the dropout and the district completion rates. And this is new language. And honestly, folks, this is the one that I know at this time the least from the state about. But there is operative language here that is significantly different, because we've always talked about completion rate and then separately dropout rate. And dropout rate has only been looking at our 7th and 8th graders. That was the only indicator on dropout that we were measured by. This language is dropout and district completion rates. So they're going to be looking at 9 through 12 dropout and 9 through 12 completion rates. That's those kids that go into the 5th year. But separately from that, because we've never been separate on this before, it's always been a district completion rate and a campus completion rate. The campuses are going to begin to be held at a higher criteria. What is their 4-year graduation rate? So this is another major challenge that will face us. One in which we've been meeting with the high schools on, and Dr. Burns was in a meeting today in which we talked to a campus team about this. We're going to be looking at how we can improve our graduation, 4-year graduation rate, which, by the way, is not horrible. So we feel that this is another doable task, but it is a new task. And kind of finally, this is the calendar of events. This is a phase-in system. And the first phase of this is next year we're going to be giving the STAR and the EOCs to the appropriate subjects and grades. But at the end, we're going to get no rating. It's going to, in essence, we did this when we went from TOS to TAX. We had a year in which there was no new rating. So basically, you kept the rating that you had from the previous year. And we've known that. This is not a game changer. We knew that that was going to happen for next year. So my AEIS report to you next year will be real short. We don't have any new ratings. Then when we move into the second year of STAR, and the reason for this is you have to have a sufficient amount of data collected from actual test takers to set the benchmarks. What are the passing rates really going to be? What are everything that's tied to the test? You have to have an actual administration of, so that you can then extrapolate how you're going to form your accountability cut points. So we will get our first ratings under the new accountability systems in the fall of 2013. But they will be lacking one of the major pieces, of the new accountability system. That year, we will only be judged off of our STAR and EOC mastery level. In the fall of 2014, we will have the career and college readiness standards fully in place. So we're going to have a year without a system. We're going to have a second year in which we're only going to have the first chunk of the system, and then the third year we'll get the whole system in place. And I wish I had more detail to give you than that, but I will, and Corey and I are open to any questions you might have.
Board members, any questions? Mr. Good.
Just a point of clarification. On the college and career readiness standards, do we have any idea what that's going to entail?
Well, the simplest response, and you can help me out on this, Corey, is that the advanced academic standard, which is kind of corollary, well, basically corollary to the commended, that's the big piece. That's the big mover piece. We're looking at getting kids to that commended level, because it is at that commended or that advanced academic standard that you have virtually guaranteed that the child is ready for the next subject or the next grade. And as Corey explained, when you go down to the just passing level, some kids are going to be ready for the next grade because it's a fairly wide span from passing to commended. So some kid who just barely passes may need some additional reinforcement. Another child may be all the way at the end of the passing range, just barely misses commended, misses it by one question. Well, that child is ready for the next grade level as well. We have full confidence that that child will do well in the next subject, next grade level. But that's kind of what we're looking at. This is also based off of some heavy research from ACT, in which they have taken their test data from colleges, and they have designed over several years with large pools of testees, looking at how you could push that down all the way to third grade. When can you identify that third graders are actually performing at a track that will lead them to being college ready? So there's a lot of heavy research in this.
And I was just going to say that the advanced, the highest cut level in Algebra 2 and English 3 is the subject that will say, yes, you are ready for college, you're ready. And as he said, the advanced level and the other courses, subjects, and grade levels will say you're ready for the next grade level or course.
Now, to answer your second piece of that, which was career ready, we may need to have Joe Gillen help us out on that one a little bit. But I don't think she's prepared for that, not only because I just surprised her with that statement, but because we don't have details from the state on that one. We know that they're going to be looking at the 21st century workforce standards, but they've given us virtually nothing on how to plan for that.
And the state believes you need 3 years of data before you make that determination.
Yes. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, they do have those skills and standards in place, essentially soft skills, things that basically we are teaching in our CTE classes, and they will have some sort of version of exactly what that's going to look like, what sort of skills and testing will be involved, and they're working that out right now. But they'll have it outlined. We're looking at it right now at the state level.
A lot of.
I think you're in for a lot of surprises.
Yes.
Yeah.
Other questions?
So in 2 years, our accountability will be based on both tax and EOCs. Is that right?
STAR.
STAR
STAR and
EOC.
Well,
EOC.
STAR, right.
The high school.
So
right.
only our freshmen and sophomores will be taking EOCs,
Well,
and the others will be taking
kinda.
tax.
You know, if they're taking you could have a freshman taking a geometry class, they're going to be taking the geometry test. You could have a sophomore taking an Algebra 2 class, they will be taking the Algebra 2 EOC.
Right, but I'm saying that there'll be our accountability will depend upon both.
As it phases out.
For at least 4 years.
I think the real thing to remember here is we're going to have a more rigorous or difficult test. We're going to have a more complex accountability system, and there's a whole lot that's unknown. And there's some planning that we're doing certainly in the Educational Services Division in preparation for all of this with our curriculum. But until we get, it's sort of like the budget. Until we get final information, there's some planning that we really can't make until we have all the facts. Because there's a fairly complicated piece on the end-of-course exams regarding how they will combine those together so they will count, because there's a real push to make sure that students, no matter what grade level they are taking the test seriously. Because there's been all this dialogue, well, if it's not the exit test that they have to pass to graduate, do they really take it seriously? I certainly think we have evidence to show that they do, but there's been some of that, but we decided not to even share that with you right now because it's still so undecided. We thought it might just confuse people to hear it one way and then turn around and at the final assessment it'd be something else. So I think those are the three big bullets. Mr. Good.
That sort of brings up a question. How does higher education look at this transition? Because when I think about all of the students as they graduate, there's pretty much a, shall I say, a standard that the students have to understand how well they're doing to be accepted by the universities. And I'm wondering, as we go through the STAR program, is that not going to change up how higher education looks at these students?
We think it should. We think that's part of the intent.
They've worked together and gone from higher ed saying, you're getting too many of your students who need a remedial class, and the commissioner saying, okay, well, what do our students need to look like when they leave us so that they don't need those? And if they achieve that college readiness standard in Algebra 2 and English 3, then they don't have to take the remedial classes at a state university. So there's been a lot of work together to start at the top. This is what we want our graduate to look like, and work back.
One of the good things the governor has done is he's had for the past several years, we have the pre-K to 18 initiative and support group, and that's the group that she's talking about that's working on it. This is not a Johnny-come-lately concept.
Okay.
Ms. Klein, did you have a question?
Recently, some of the high school kids took what they called EOC tests. Was that the full gamut, and where did it originate from? Is it from the state, or is it something we're trying to benchmark? Or?
Well, we are mandated by the state to give the students certain EOCs. As a district, we decided to give every operational EOC. So all English 1 students recently took the English 1 EOC. This provides us two pieces of things. Next year, it's high stakes. We know what the testing calendar is going to look like from the state, unless they change it in August like they did this year on us. But it allows us to be able to logistically know how to use the new system, as well as we get back information on how the students did in raw scores. We don't know whether they met this standard, but if there was 48 questions, we know if they got 30 out of the 48. And this allows our curriculum coordinators to be able to say, okay, with these readiness standards, where are we at? And gives us some benchmarking to go off before we hit the high stakes.
We are one of the few districts that was as proactive as we are on this. As she said, there were some minimums that had to be done. We chose to do the maximums because we wanted maximum data to plan with. And one of the real pieces that Corey alluded to is we did this all online. We wanted to see if our technology structure and our campus structures were sufficient to handle it. And we're proud to announce that we handled it. And other districts are saying, there's no way. And we're saying, yes, there is. We did it.
We had campuses that tested over 500 students online without any technology issues, and they were able to assess the students with minimal disruption.
And that's a real testament to Dr. Burning and his group. They really were there, and all over the district they complimented them. Where he is.
Dr. Vernon, who's not back here.
Ms. Webb?
I might have missed this, and you might have already said it, but if they do get satisfactory or unsatisfactory, do they pass the class for us? Do they move on, or is it them repeating the class?
For EOCs?
Yes.
That's one of those pieces that we're waiting for further legislation, because you can earn credit for a course, and Dr. Mayer, step in anytime.
Yeah. What they said originally was that the EOC would count 15% of a student's grade. They gave no guidelines beyond that. And the EOC is not on a 100-point scale, so that complicates things even further. Right now, there is a bill where we're considering revoking that requirement. So we are waiting to see whether that will still be a requirement to count it to 15% of a student's grade or not.
As a district, how would we, if they end up having to retake it, let's say they say nothing more, then it's just part of the grade. Have we thought about what we would do? Because you would still be having to take the same test that you're not ready for, and you would be going on to another class. Have we thought about what our standards would be?
We've had some initial discussion, and I was part of a focus group at Region 10 where we talked about different options from around the Metroplex. Different districts kind of weighed in on their thinking. Interestingly enough, no one was ready to actually say this is the direction we want to go, because they're all riddled with some problems. But the option that we have talked about is that each semester, as we do now, we average those 2 semesters together. And we come up with a final grade for the course. Then the 15% would be added to that final grade. If the student had passed fall semester, spring semester, but didn't pass the EOC, that might require that, might lower the grade, but the only thing the student would need to remediate to pass would be that test. By the way, some of the complicated piece in here is that there's been some indication that you have to get a certain score to be considered college ready, and they are giving right now opportunity for retesting as many times as a student might want to do to earn that score. So there's some real complicated pieces out there yet to be decided.
One piece that is pretty much, I think, decided upon is that a student can fail a course and fail the EOC, but they don't have to, they can retake the EOC, but they wouldn't necessarily have to retake the course. And vice versa. You could pass the course, fail the EOC, and you can take it indefinitely. They're trying not to make that tie absolute.
So theoretically, a junior could have 12 tests with the way it's written around, they could they could go through all the classes, but they could keep having to retake the test if it's indefinite.
If they're passing the course without the EOC, I guess that's technically possible. Okay. But we would hope that we'd be putting some safety nets in to prevent that from coming overwhelming.
We would be required to provide accelerated instruction, just as we did with 5th and 8th grade, for students who don't pass an EOC. And so we wouldn't say, okay, you're in geometry, good luck on this algebra test as well. We would provide support as well for that algebra to try to help. Hopefully they could pass it the next, in summer or the end of the fall.
So like we have tax courses now, that could be built into their schedule if they would have an EOC course or something.
The exact structure is still being worked out.
Okay.
And, we've never tested chemistry or algebra 2 in this state. This will be the first time we've ever done that when we get to those courses and we have students involved in those. Our current system, it's a grade level test. It's a 9th grade test, it's a 10th grade test, it's an 11th grade test. And we have what we call off-course objectives and assessment items on that test. In other words, if I'm a 9th grade student, I may find a little chemistry, a little physics, a little biology on my 10th grade test. We don't give 9th grade science tests now, we will. But if I'm in the 10th grade, I might have all the subjects. I may not even be in biology, but I will have biology items. We have lamented that because it's difficult, so I'm having to take questions be tested over material that I may not have in my course, but we have to be careful what we ask for, because now we're going to be testing exactly what's being taught in the course, but it's going to be at a very high, rigorous level, and it's going to be over some content that we've not assessed before. So,
Mr. Good, did you have another question?
Just real quickly, have EOCs been developed for all 12 core courses already?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
We're finishing the field testing on English 2 and 3 and world history.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're field testing those this year, but they will all be available next year.
Okay.
Other questions, board members? It's a good report. It's a confusing area. It's got a lot of, you're right, there's a lot of holes left in it to fill in, but we know you guys will be on top of it.
This won't be the last you hear about STAR.
Right, right. All right, moving on to agenda item 2B, legislative update. Dr. Burns?
Yes, Ms. Chaffin, members of the board, and members of the public. We have been approaching this legislative session cautiously optimistic. However, we're having trouble finding good news in what's happening in Austin at this point. So tonight we want to kind of give you the latest that we've heard. The reality is that the state is got a shortfall, and 44% of the state's budget funds public education. Therefore, they're going to lay that off on public education, or at least that's what is in the news. And at a time where the accountability standards go up, our resources go down. At a time where the state will have mandated programs and say they're funding it with a minimum, they will not be funding any non-mandated programs and really will not be providing, other than a local option, any way to increase that revenue. So although we've tried to remain optimistic, it's getting very discouraging. And so Mr. Hyde will kind of give you some of the latest. The numbers are pretty devastating, although not as bad as they could have been. Any decrease in our funding, we feel, is devastating because we have a lot of great programs that we certainly don't want to lose. So, Mr. Hyatt, not to give you the the rest of the bad news, but
well, Dr. Burns, members of the board, there truly is no good news to share with you. I guess the only glimmer of good news is there is only 25 days remaining of the legislative session.
That may be the only good news.
Of the regular legislative session.
That being said, legislation can't be introduced or debated to the very end of the session, so there's probably really only realistic somewhere between 15 and 20 days of real work to be done before they're going to run out of time and either default to the old system, which is highly unlikely, or go into a special session to continue to discuss this. You might have read in the paper the Senate did send forth from the Senate Education Committee. The Senate Finance Committee did submit a budget bill yesterday. It was done uniquely and used some a provision that has, to the knowledge of the Senate, never been done before, which traditionally they require a 2/3 vote to take something out of committee and for full discussion, and they bypassed that rule so they would not have to use any get any Democratic votes on the legislation to send it out to the full legislature. So they have probably, at least in the Senate, truly made this a party line discussion. It is very clear that this is right now being a Republican-led discussion, and not that our role is politics, but that does tell you that makes it even more contentious when our legislature is now dealing on a party line debate. The really bad news, and it's members of the board, probably for none of you this is significantly new news, but the budget that's been presented and the one in the House that's being discussed currently reduces funding for public education by as little as $4 billion, and in the House version as much as $7.8 billion. In a $170 billion state budget, I guess that could be considered small, but anything that starts with a B starts becoming significant. For us, more importantly, what that means is, and we've had this discussion in our budget conversations, but there are no true state-generated impact models yet that have been created and distributed. So no one can tell you for sure what that's going to mean for us or any other school district. But several organizations and groups have developed models that predict what that would mean to us. And to give you a range, the Senate version of the current conference bill would have a $14 million effect on the school district next year, and then a $16 million effect this following year. That's not cumulative. It would be our budget would have $14 million less revenues next year, and then an additional $2 million the following year. But that would be cumulative of $16 million in the second year. In the House version, in the first year, there would be a $21 million impact, and in the second year, a $31 million impact. There is a third version of a funding, a public education funding proposal that's being discussed. It's not a bill, it's not proposed legislation, but oddly enough, it's been developed and proposed by Representative Eisler, who is the chairman of the Education Committee, a guy that has some role and responsibility, and for him to have proposed an alternative method, an alternative calculation is a little bit unique, and he's kind of out there trying to drum up support. If you've gotten calls or emails or something, you may have heard from him, but he has actually contacted the superintendent in our district, and we've been encouraged to support their version. It still has a similar financial impact. First year of that bill has a $16 million impact to us. The second year there's no significantly larger impact, so about a $16 million impact for each year. What is interesting and is somewhat attractive in the Eisler bill is he is using the Educational Resource Group data and methodology in calculating district values, if you will, which is the same group that we presented to you just a few weeks ago about that does some analytical reviews and analysis of school district data. And so they've developed probably one of the most statistically and scientifically valid methodologies for distributing funds. But what will happen is just like any of the others, if you're a winner, you like it. If you're a loser, you don't like it. In a lot of the Metroplex school districts, we are, I guess you could call us winners because it's a lot better than the House plan. But there are some school districts that are significant losers in that plan, so it'll become a what's in it for me discussion, I believe. Again, we have 20 some odd days for this to be debated. I expect it to go farther. The only other interesting piece, and for those of you who cruise the web and want to look it up, House Bill 400 is probably the most interesting piece of legislation that's being discussed. It's actually posted on tomorrow's House calendar for discussion, and House Bill 400 is a series of mandate reliefs for school districts. And I think a large number of the members of the House of Representatives recognize if they can't give us any money, maybe they need to give us some flexibility to change how we spend our money. A lot of those aren't going to be very popular, though. Obviously, some of the primary ones deal with how we handle compensation and contracts, and that's going to be very contentious. And the one that's probably the most understandable is the 22-to-1 cap on class size. Those are all under consideration in that relaxation of rules. Don't have a whole lot more information. I actually have a copy of the bill. It's interesting. When you read the summary, it makes all kinds of sense. But when you read the bill itself, you wonder how they get to the summary. But I don't think that's real unusual. I'll try to answer questions if you have any.
Yeah, Mr. Hite, not to depress us even further, but 16 million is approximately how many personnel units? We figure about 300.
Yeah.
Would that be 300 each year? With this being 16 million and 16?
Well, no, it's not an additional. It's a reduction in revenue for that amount from then on, and so. Yeah.
One time.
And isn't the last you heard is that this Republican group in the Senate does not want to touch the rainy day fund?
Oh, I appreciate you bringing that up. That was one of the twists of the Senate version being submitted, to get a full complement of senators that was voted out, they had to compromise and give up on using any of the rainy day funds. So there's a little over $9 billion in the state's rainy day fund, and currently the House has never vacillated in their opinion that they weren't going to use any of the rainy day fund. The Senate has been proposing to use approximately half of the rainy day fund, but in this last version, they capitulated and said they wouldn't either.
They gave in.
Yeah, they gave in. I don't think we should give up hope totally that that's still on the table, but a large element of our legislature is opposed to doing it, and our governor is well on record saying that he would in no way endorse that.
Any other questions, board members?
Well, just for the record, I think that projected for the next year, I think between the oil and gas, which pretty much makes up the rainy day fund, I think they're projected another $6 billion, I believe.
I don't know about the oil and gas revenues. I did hear today that the latest revenue projections for next year were up. I think I heard 11%, which is great. I'm not sure that it's
and mainly
enough.
the oil and gas revenues, which they go directly into the rainy day fund. So that's where it comes from. And based on the current market, I think they have a projection of $6 billion within the next year. So hopefully they'll go ahead and use some of that rainy day fund.
That would be a good thing.
Absolutely. And I guess the final thing is, to the public, we need your help. And we got to call our legislatures, talk to them, our representatives, our senators, and as we've said many times, you've heard us say, we got to make education a priority, and cutting $16 million from a district's budget is pretty hard to not lose some great things and great people. So if you know, and I always say this to groups, if you know anybody who knows anybody who knows anybody down there, tell them that, education has got to be a top priority in Texas, because this is devastating to public education to cut that kind of money. So.
We will be talking further over the course of the next few months and the next year about what it impacts as we look at doing what is absolutely mandated, but potentially having to cut out a lot of those things that are not mandates because we don't have the funding. A lot of really, really fine programs that are very positive for our students and our community may have to be eliminated purely because we don't have the money to do it. So it is critical that you talk to your legislatures, and we'll be working to make sure that we maintain an academic base, that we keep our academic achievement high, because that is our goal. But there are things that contribute to that academic achievement that are not mandated that we think we may wind up losing. So, board members, other questions? All right, we're going to move on to our next agenda item in board operations. Item 2A is audience for guest. Audience for guest is a mechanism that the board uses to receive input and feedback from our community. And anyone who would like to address the board about any topic may do so by filling out a form that's at the front of the room just outside the double doors and turning those forms into Ms. Scrivener over here. When I call your name, I'll ask you to come to the podium. We do have quite a few requests tonight, so I'm going to call 2 names at a time to hopefully help this move forward. We'll ask that when you arrive at the podium, you give us your name and your address. Ms. Klein, our board vice president, is going to be timing you. You will have 3 minutes. Because of the number of people who do wish to speak to us, we're going to have to maintain that time limit very strictly. So we appreciate your cooperation. The first 2 that I have are Jesse Salazar and Alinda Munoz. Is Mr. Salazar here? Yes, come right over here to the podium, please, sir, and give us your name and your address, and then tell us what you'd like in 3 minutes or less.
The microphone right there.
The tall one.
Right, it's all on.
There you go.
Tilt it up closer to your voice. You're nice and tall.
Good Good evening. My name is Jesse Salazar, and I would like to discuss the matter about keeping the Kickstart program in our...
Can you give us your address, please?
Oh, I apologize.
That's okay.
2710 Moon River Lane.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to discuss the matter of keeping our Kickstart program in our schools. And I would just like to say that me, personally, I have been in the Kickstart for about 3 years now. And I'm currently a red belt in our program, and I can't say how much the program has changed me. It has given me lots of courage, respect, discipline, and pretty much most of all is self-confidence, because if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be speaking right now. But I can pretty much guarantee you that it is definitely a program worth keeping, because I guarantee that if you speak with our principals at DeWitt Perry Middle School, you will see that most of our behavior issues, none of them, or very rarely, you will never see a Kickstart student on the trouble list, as I like to call it. But Kickstart not only offers self-discipline and respect and courage and the sort, but it also offers a second family to children. And I've seen this personally about the 3 years that I have been there. And looking at the instructors, I see that they treat each student as their own son or daughter, because they each take the time with each person, and they very much agree with, to put it, that no person is left behind. And I believe that I speak for every one of the supporters for Kickstart and the kids that it is definitely a program worth keeping. Thank you.
Thank you. After Ms. Munoz will be James Orndorff.
Hello, my name is Elida Munoz, and I live at 2405 Via Barcelona, Carrollton, Texas, 75006. 2 days ago, my grandson Stephen called me about the same thing that Mr. Salazar so eloquently explained, with the same concerns. He was very upset about the fact that such a wonderful program was going to be taken away from him and his brother, his twin brother, Nicholas, and they're very upset about it. They know that I will always fight for what is right, and always have. All my children have gone through this school district, his father, my other son, and my other two daughters. And it seems that it's not the same school district as I used to be. I was always a very concerned parent, and I had never had any problem speaking to Newman Smith himself and Mr. McKinney when I thought there was a problem that wasn't just. So I decided to start making a little bit of trying to find information as to why such a wonderful program that only employs 5 teachers is taken away from our children and grandchildren, and yet there's so many other expenditures in the school district that could be taken away and keeping the program. First of all, I found out that there's a corporate sponsor called Interstate Batteries that gives money to this program. So we're not going to take that money anymore, and if so, where is it going to go? The other thing is that I found out some statistics from the Texas Coalition Research Institute that say that, speaking about teachers, non-teachers, and all that, statewide, 3 teachers to 2 non-teachers could save Texas $3.3 billion. From the, let's see, this is from the 2008 and 9 figures. Since 1999, the student enrollment has a growth of 15%. Teachers had a 19% growth, but since 1999, the number of non-teachers has increased by 22%. So I'm assuming that these are people that are not teaching our kids, yet they're being paid. Another statistic that I found out was from the Red Apple Project that I guess checks on unnecessary spending in school districts. And I found out, very surprisingly to me, that the Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD got the Rotten Apple Award because of the following. The district spends $300,000 on 7 painters, 1 department head, 2 supervisors, a ground painter, and 3 painters. Average salary of $40,000 a year. The district retired an assistant superintendent from 2009 to 10 school year and rehire him part-time, less than 20 hours per week of pay at $80,000 a year. He's also drawing his retirement of about $150,000 a year.
Ms. Munoz, your 3
Yes.
minutes are up.
Yes?
Your 3 minutes are up.
Okay, well, with all that expenditure, there's more here that...
I'm sure there is, but we have 17 people who
All
need
right,
to speak.
well, I'm sure we can find money other than cutting our kids' programs to keep this program alive. Thank you very much.
After Mr. Orndorff will be Lisa Spikes.
Hello, I'm James Orndorff. I live at 2658 Via Valencia. And I didn't prepare anything like this, but I was just speak from the heart. At any given time, I've had 2 to 4 children in the Kickstart program at one time. And I know that, not all kids are called to sports, not all kids are called to academics to have achievements like we found out tonight. But I know my children, they're above average, they're good kids, and this has given them a lot of confidence. It's given them a lot of, they're able to focus on other things and be able to go forth because of the things they've learned, the character, the integrity, and the honor they've learned by not only being a team or as a family, but also as seeing the respect that their instructors give them, and they do the same thing back. I don't know if any of you have ever been to one of the demo sessions or the belt ceremonies like we went to last night, but it's amazing to see 150, 160 kids turn around and respect when your instructor says something and they yell respect, and then they respect the flag, they respect the parents, they respect their principal. That's a big deal in today's time because a lot of kids don't have that upbringing at their house, and they're not getting that kind of teaching anymore because both parents are working. But what I see happening is a lot of the kids that are there, it's a major influence in their life. And because a lot of these kids can't participate in the sports, and even if they do participate in sports, they're not athletically inclined. So what do they see? They get to sit on the bench. They don't get to participate. In Kickstart, everybody participates. Everybody gets to participate. Everybody has a function. Everybody works as a team. Everybody's a family. That's basically all I have to say, but it would be a major mistake. I believe with all the kids you have now, especially just at Ted Polk, they have over 150 kids in that program alone. That's 150 kids that want to be dedicated to be in there to show respect to their instructor. And you take that from, what's 150 kids going to do? See that they're not going to ever have that confidence factor build up because they won't be able to participate in something? That's just the way I see it. But I appreciate your time. Thank you.
After Mrs. Spikes, we have Jayla, Shay, Keely, Taryn, Gina, and Marley. Spikes.
My name is Lisa Spikes. My address is 1020 Summit Circle in Carrollton.
Thank you.
I'm just going to say my story. My daughter is over there. Her name is Jasmine. And my sister-in-law, LaDeja, we have custody of her. She's not here tonight. The summer before they started middle school, my mother-in-law passed away, and that's my daughter's grandmother, but she called her mom. It was like her other mother. And also my sister-in-law, that was her mother. And starting middle school, in the 6th grade, they weren't in Kickstart. And they both dealt with a lot of issues with anger, grief, of course, and a lot of other issues. And they got into Kickstart when they were in 7th grade, and now they're in 8th grade, and they have got so much from this program. They've learned how to deal with anger physically as well as mentally. The instructors really mean a lot to them. They are like family to them. Mr. McQuivey and Mrs. Hellman mean a lot to the girls, and as well as a lot of the other members in Kickstart. I really feel like they have helped my girls. And even though they're about to go to high school, they're making plans to go to the program this summer, which they did last summer as well, and also after school, after high school, to be coming back and continuing gaining their belts and everything. I really appreciate your time, and thank you for having us here. Thank you.
Thank you. After these, all right. After this one, next will be Michaela King.
Should I just
there you go. Just stretch it out.
Should I just state my address?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Are you going to be the designated speaker?
Yes, basically.
Perfect.
3829 Clover Hill Lane. Well, obviously we are very passionate about this program. All of us here and more in the crowd, as you might have noticed, all have complaints towards the removal of this program. We all need this program. This program has improved our self-esteem, our physical condition, and our ability to respect ourselves and our elders and others we know. We're learning this along with the ability to defend ourselves. This program is vital to our development and should be mandatory. If education is a priority, why should we cut anything from it? I understand that budgets are tight, but this really is an incredible program. We are the future, and without discipline and quality education, what do you, every single one of you of the board, what do you think the future would look like? And we really do wish that our instructor, we wish our teacher, Mr. Bain, was here, but he is out supporting, helping, and inspiring all of us and our other students at a citywide meet tonight. He's out there doing his job just like any other teacher. Why should he and other Kickstart instructors be cut? These people have created a wonderful and motivating environment. Because of this program, I'm taking on a challenge of a college-level high school. And Kylie, behind the banner, is working on her dream to become a forensic anthropologist. And Taryn is working on becoming an engineer. Gina, a doctor, and Marley is working on getting into a college for art institution. And as you see, there's so many people passionate about this program, and we've noticed that so many people have more confidence. And as you may notice, we're all girls up here. And one of the rising problems I see is girls getting pregnant nowadays, and girls having self-esteem issues to where they're pushed to do something. And in our program, we are pushed to strive for better than that. We are pushed to strive so that nothing happens to us, and so that we can defend ourselves against anybody that tries to hurt us. And we really do respect everybody in here, and we would like you, if any way possible, for you to come to our belt ceremony on May 17th. So you can see how dedicated and well taught these children are. Thank you.
Thank you. After Ms. King is Reagan Wallace. King?
All right. First off, I'd like to point out that about half of this audience is for Kickstart. Just saying. Okay. All right. So Kickstart is a program that has touched many people's lives as it has mine. Kickstart was created by a very honorable man named Chuck Norris. Mr. Chuck Norris developed this program to teach students many goals to reach, such as respect, discipline, courage, leadership, trust, strength, integrity, and so much more. With this economy and the state it is, the crime rate has risen dramatically. This program teaches life lessons as well as self-defense in order to combat this growing problem. The idea of removal of this amazing program has been put on the table, I realize, as I assume it's because of budget cuts. Although the program has major sponsors such as Kevin Mitchell, Interstate Batteries, and our founder, Chuck Norris. Do you guys really want to make Chuck Norris mad? keep Kickstart!
After Mr. Wallace is Jasmine Moretta Spikes.
Hi, my name is Regan Wallace. I live at 2248 Carmel Drive. I am a 7th year karate student. I'm a senior at Newman Smith High School. I began karate in my 6th grade year, and being an asthmatic and a rather plump child, I believe that the experience would be easy for me and require much less work than a regular PE class. But I soon found myself losing a bunch of weight and loving the experience that I had along the way and doing way more work than I originally intended. When I finally approached my 8th grade year, I decided to dedicate myself fully to something for one of the first times in my life. And at the end of the year, I received the Student of the Year award in karate. However, it wasn't the award that motivated me. It was the fact that I actually put my all into something, and I felt proud of what I did and what I love. As it states, the program basically, what's the word I wrote down there? The basic fundamentals of Kickstart are discipline, respect, and inner strength. And without karate, I don't think I ever would have found these things. They began to reflect in my schoolwork, my attitude at home, and I had finally motivated me to fully dedicate myself to what I really wanted to do and do for the rest of my life. And although acting is not really a career that many would consider meritable, I love it, and I really want to make a difference in the world through it. And it was Kickstart that taught this to me. And I realized that if you aren't doing what you love in life, you aren't living to your fullest. And now I'm going to be attending the University of Evansville in August, majoring in acting performance, along with 9 other students out of 3,000 that auditioned across the nation. My little brother and sister are currently in the program, and I can see the absolute joy on their faces from doing Kickstart every day, and the signs of the discipline, inner strength, and respect that are reflected in their actions. I want the best for my siblings in their life, and taking Kickstart from them would not only take away my origins and where I learned a bunch of the things that I have with me today, but it would take away the possibility of my siblings to succeed in life and well. I stand by my mother and a bunch of other people in this room when I say that the Kickstart staff and the students, when I say that this organization is one that truly needs to stay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
After Ms. Spikes is Scott McElwain. McElwain.
I'm short. Well, hello, I'm Jasmine Spikes. I live at 1020 Summit Circle, and I'm sure you can guess what I'm here about.
There is a clue.
I think that the Kickstart program should still be here. I understand that y'all have budget cuts and that you need to take out programs, but this is not one of the programs you need to take out. It is a great opportunity to so many students, and it provides a family, and I'm sure you've heard it from many people already, but it really does. A second family. It provides friendship. It provides focus in your life. It gives you determination. It teaches you respect for yourself and others. It teaches you responsibility. I've actually started turning in my classwork. I've actually studied too. And I've been passing, and I'm so scared of myself. But I've only done that out of Kickstart, and I've made a great, I never realized what a great opportunity this was, and I originally did not want to get into it. I thought I was like, oh, it's going to be just stupid, we're just going to be kicking and punching people all day long. So, and then my parent was like, Mom, you got to get in there. I was like, Mom, why? So I got into it, and I was like, wow, this is awesome, and I don't want to get out of it. And I will be attending back in high school, and I will be coming every day after school if I can. I'll be coming in the summer. I'll be coming, and I hope I'll see my friends again that will help me support me. And I got this board when I broke it at my belt ceremony, and got this blue belt. Look at that.
Congratulations.
And this is the board I broke. It's awesome, I know. And these are all the people who supported me when I broke this board. So I say essentially they broke the board with me. These are all my classmates who in karate with me. These are my family members. These are my instructors. And these are my friends. They've helped me become who I am. They helped me become who I want to be, and who not the person I used to be, who's a mean, arrogant little girl who was very mad. And I've learned how to control my anger. I've learned how to use for better things. I've learned how to take it out on people in a good way. And I've learned how to be a better person overall, and I thank Kickstart for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be Irving Clay.
My name is Scott McElvain. I live at 2127 Bowie Drive. To be honest with you all, I am proud to see James up there. You guys are judging something you have never, I don't believe, have gone to. My son and my daughter enjoy the, let me back up. Our footsteps for our children are basically love and respect. When I found out you guys were even considering getting rid of Kickstart, being a parent made me very upset. Seeing this happening, I don't have the words for it, but you have to go see Kickstart. Not only is it for the children, but for the parents and all the family and their friends who go there. They enjoy it. I wish you all would take a little time out and consider it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Irving Clay, and then Pastor Robert Townsend. Is Mr. Clay here? All right. I'll put that aside. Robert Townsend, and then Michelle Kidson. Are you Michelle?
Yes, I'm not Michelle.
Come on. Yeah, you don't look like a Robert.
And I'm not a National Merit finalist, and I don't understand STAR. However,
join the club.
I am a mom, first and foremost. I have 5 children who've all been educated wonderfully through our district, and I have watched this program in awe for over 12 years now. I've made sandwiches for hungry kids. I've tied their belts for them till they can figure out how to do it. And I've sat in hot gymnasiums in the summertime and in cold ones in the winter to applaud their successes. Never has there been time better spent. 12 years ago, when my son started his program, there were 3 young men in the same program who were, as many middle schoolers are, not easily finding their ways. Those 3 men, young men, were ready to finish their own lives. Because of the guidance that they received through the program, the way the program helped them find the counseling they needed, they were able to push past their immediate crises, and they were able to find successes that they had never imagined possible in their own lives. Some of these people have graduated college now. One is still struggling to find his way, but he does it with a great deal of joy. I don't know how we can put a price on that. I hope that we never have to hear that story about any of the other children in any of our programs. It's very difficult, I know, to sit where you sit and make choices that you have to make. As a mom, I see that it is not a choice. I don't understand why we would implement a test at the cost that that's going to cost, instead of using what we know is good for our children. All I can see is that Kickstart offers a AAA plus to families from every end of the spectrum that we serve in our district. And I hope that we remember that. And I appreciate all the good that you do for all of the families each and every day, because we certainly couldn't do it without you.
Thank you. Dina Self, and then Kate Wallace.
Little typo, Davina Self.
Sorry.
I want to tell y'all that I'm standing here as a proud mother of a little boy that the doctor had told us he has failure to thrive. Kickstart has given this little boy the chance to actually go to state, and I am very proud of him. This program has also made it very fun for him and a lot easier for me because I'm not hovering so much. As tiny as he is, going into junior high, you see some of these 8th and 7th graders that are really tall, and you go, oh my goodness, they're going to swallow him. And in reality, they went around him, they took care of him. Kickstart brought him into their arms, made him part of the family. His teacher has been there the whole way through. She has never said, he can't, he can't, he can. And I'm really and truly asking y'all as very big wigs, I'm serious in every way, because it really takes dedication to do what y'all are doing and the understanding. I know as parents we get upset, but I really think you need to look at what's going on and see that those kids that aren't being chosen for certain things, they're finding a home with Kickstart. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be R.B. McElvain.
Hi, I'm Kate Wallace, and I live at 2248 Carmel. I have 4 kids in the district, 2 who are in high school, 2 who are in a middle school, and in Kickstart program. All of them have been involved in Kickstart. With 4 kids comes many friends, and I've seen with many of their friends that they're from single-parent homes. Many or most of them are absent a father in their home. And what I see with the Kickstart program is an amazing amount of men as well as women who are there working with our kids. They're teaching them discipline at a very high level. They're teaching them respect, and they're teaching them success and how to set goals in order to achieve them. Now, our kids are called the trophy generation because they're given trophies just for being in this and being in that. I can't tell you how many trophies are in our house. And that's a wonderful thing. It's nice to be, have something. But Kickstart doesn't do that. Kickstart says, set a goal, reach for success, and we're going to praise you for it. We're going to give you that success. And they earn those belts. They're not just giving it because they're in the class. If they don't earn them, they don't get their belt. And so these kids have really learned that. My son who spoke earlier, I have seen him go from a student who, I don't have to do that homework, that type of thing, who said, you know what, I'm going to pull it together. I'm going to get myself together. I'm going to set some goals. I'm going to reach for them, and I'm going to attain them. Another son of mine who's in Kickstart right now is also enjoying the demo team that they have after school, as well as the citywide demo team, which I believe they have their program tonight. He's also gone into the tournaments as well and is on his way to state too. I do have a note that I want to read that a student read at the Kickstart belt ceremony the other night, and I would really like to see if you guys could come out to one of the next ceremonies, because I think you really enjoy seeing what these kids are learning. This is what Carla Camacho had to say. Karate isn't just punches, kicks, twists, and turns, or blocks. It's much more than that. It teaches you honesty, respect, loyalty, and cooperation. We all work together to do one kata, one block, or even a one-step. If one of us falls, we all fall. Then we pick each other up on the way. We don't grow as an individual, we grow as a group. That's why karate is like a second home, because it doesn't just teach you self-defense. It actually teaches you ways of life. We're not just a karate class or a team. We are all a family. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. After Mr. McElwain is Corey Richards.
I'm Bruce McElvain, 1501 McCoy Place. There's 3 things in this, but two of the critical elements in this, in any school, anywhere, any school district in the United States, is respect and discipline. Everybody has real problems in that area, except one. That's this program. There's a tremendous amount of self-esteem in here. I cannot. If you haven't been to one of these, and Mr. Yode's been to one, he went last night, as a matter of fact. I loved having you up in the crowd last night. And the gymnasium was completely packed. It was hot. And nobody said a single thing about that. The kids were fantastic, highly organized, and tremendous self-esteem. It just comes out in the air. So I really think it's to your advantage. Before you start cutting things, maybe go over there and look at this. Well, the ceremony is tomorrow, or the 7th, isn't it? There's one locally. I can't remember which one that is. Well, the one we were at last night. My grandson, is going to the state, and it's just an amazing group of people. I've watched these kids for the last 3 or 4 years now, and they have done amazing things. And every one of them has tremendous self-esteem. Even the ones that came on, they were shy little guys and girls when they came in and didn't want to do. They felt very uncomfortable, and this group just comes around them. It's just like a big family, and they just take such good care of them. So anyhow, I highly endorse the program. Hope you'll take us up on an invitation to go visit one of those before you start working with that pencil real quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. After Mr. Richards will be Irving Clay and Pastor Robert Townsend if they've come back into the room.
Good evening. My name is Coy Richards. I live at 2248 Carmel Drive, Carrollton, Texas, 75006. Can you guys guess what program I'm here to talk about? Kickstart of America is an exceptional program, no doubt about it. Everyone said it here. I'm 18 years of age. I'm in high school right now. I'm a high school senior, and I'm going to college. Kickstart has definitely prepared me for college. It's taught me discipline, respect. Everyone's named it. I remember when I was in middle school, I had a single parent. She's my mom. She's a great lady. She's done what she can for me, but she just does not have the funds. And I wanted to be in a karate program. I went to middle school, had no idea about this program, and I was thrilled once I found out about it. So she put me in this program, and I thought it was going to teach me all these self-discipline and, oh yeah, I'm going to fight. It taught me a lot more than about that. I was in for a surprise. It taught me how to handle myself. It taught me everything I know today, basically. It builds on my principles. I'm sure you can ask Kate Wallace if I'm a good role model to her sons and daughters, because I like to say I am. That young man over there, he's my best friend, and me and him, we're probably one of the top students at Newman Smith High School, respectability. I remember in middle school, we would say this thing every day, and what stood out the most is we would say to our teacher, "I want to be anything I can be, sir." Oh, he'd say, "What can you become?" And we would say, "Anything I want to be, sir." I believe today I can be the President of the United States if I wanted to be. No doubt in my mind. There's no if, and, or but about it. If I wanted to be the president, I would be if I wanted to be. Right now, I don't want to be that. I want to be
Good choice.
Too much of a responsibility for me. I understand that. But I do want to be a firefighter for the city of Carrollton. I want to represent the city of Carrollton. I do believe that this program helped me become the person I am to represent the city. This Kickstart program is an exceptional program, no doubt about it. That's all I really have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Clay or Mr. Townsend come back into the office or back into the room. All right. Robert S. Van II, Robbie.
Yes, my name is Robert Van II. I was a substitute teacher in y'all's system and got let go for being falsely accused. And I've got paperwork to fill and wanted to be asked if it'd be all right to approach the bench to give it to y'all. I'm a volunteer fireman in Crockett, Texas, and I'm a youth worker at a church, work with youth and kids, and basically I just was want to bring something to y'all's attention because enforcing rules, I was let go.
If I could ask that you give the paper.
Yeah, Dr. Hopkins is right there in personnel.
Yeah.
We need to go through personnel first, if you would.
Okay.
And then, and before the board, he needs to work up through the process. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Are there any other requests?
No, ma'am.
Parents, students, karate students, we appreciate you coming here tonight. We appreciate the passion that you have for this program. We understand that it is a good program, that it does wonderful things for kids, and we don't want to lose this program. Audience for Guest is a mechanism that we get input from you, and we really can't do anything about discussing it if it's not on the agenda. So we can't really make any action or make any statements about it. But know that we understand that it's an excellent program, and we don't want to cut excellent programs. But as we mentioned in the legislative update, we really need for parents and families and businesses to help us with the legislature to let them understand what these funding cuts may mean to our students. In the meantime, please know that we will be looking at other sponsorships, and if you can help us identify other corporate sponsorships to help with these programs, we don't want to lose them. Thank you. We're going to take a 5-minute recess and let those of you who don't want to stay the rest of the night, we appreciate you having been here and having hung in with us, but we will take we will recess at 9:39 and we'll be back in at 9:45.
They take it every day. No, I don't.
p.m. and we will restart with agenda item 3B, the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a mechanism that the board uses to pass on a single voice vote a number of relatively routine items about which the board has had advance information and has had an opportunity to have any questions answered. Consent agenda B1, election of personnel. 3B2, consider approval of changes to the following board policy. EIC local, this is the second reading. 3B3, consider application for general state waiver for days of instruction at the early college high school. 3B4, application for general state waiver for assessment portal. 3B5, consider an out-of-state travel request for the Creekview Wind Symphony to travel to the Midwest Clinic Convention in Chicago, Illinois, December the 13th to the 17th, 2011. 3B6, consider out-of-state travel request for the DWP and RLT Robotics Clubs, DeWitt Perry Middle School and R.L. Turner High School, to travel to Los Angeles, California, July 9th through the 13th, 2011, to attend the 2011 Global Conference on Educational Robotics. 3B7, consider the financial report for March 2011. 3B8, consider the quarterly investment report for the quarter ending February the 28th, 2011. 3B9, consider the report on the status of the tax increment finance zone. 3B10, consider approval of agreements to the Charter Builders, LLC to perform construction services for the replacement of Good Elementary School for a guaranteed maximum price. 3B11, consider approval of agreement to Corbett Group, Inc. to perform construction services for the Dan F. Long Middle School. 3B12, consider RFP 1104-19010 for asbestos abatement for Good Elementary School. 3B13, consider approval of the purchase of Measures of Academic Progress, MAP, license. 3B14, consider approval of the purchase of band uniforms for Newman Smith High School. 3B15, consider approval of the purchase of special education computers. 3B16, consider approval of the purchase of special education iPads. 3B17, consider acceptance of the purchasing report for the period April 7 to May 5, 2011. 3B18, consider exercising the extension option of the agreement for external auditing services. 3B19, consider execution of the delinquent tax attorney contract. 3B20, consider exercising the extension option of RFP 09-04-141-2 for electrical services. 3B21, consider exercising the extension option of RFP 09-04-281-2 for intercom and sound systems. 3B22, consider exercising the extension option of RFP 09-03-261-3 for solid waste and recycling services. 3B23, consider exercising the extension option of RFP 10-04-082-2 for custodial paper products. 3B24, consider exercising the extension option of RFP 10-03-251-2 for custodial supplies and equipment. 3B25, consider exercising the extension option of RFP 09-05-141-3 paint supplies and equipment. 3B26, consider approval of the minutes of the Board of Trustees work-study meeting held on April the 7th, 2011. 3B27, consider approval of the minutes of the Board of Trustees regular meeting held April the 7th, 2010. Board members, are there, and administration, is there any correction to the agenda?
2011.
Excuse me. 3B27, consider approval of the minutes of the Board of Trustees regular meeting held April the 7th, 2011. Thank you, Ms. Watton. Are there any items that need to be removed? Mr. Hyatt.
Ms. Chaffin, a couple of items. 3B19, just a clarification. I believe you when you read it, you said consider execution of contract for delinquent tax attorney. It's actually the extension of the delinquent tax attorney contract, just to clarify that.
All right, thank you. Consider extension of the delinquent tax attorney contract. Thank you,
And then
Mr.
we would
Hyatt.
request that you removed item 3B25 just for separate consideration.
All right, thank you, sir.
I'd like to pull item 18 and 19.
18 and 19?
Yes.
All right. All right, anything else, board members? All right. Mr. Good.
I move we approve the consent agenda with the removal of item 18, 19, and 25.
Motion by Mr. Good, second by Ms. Klein. All those in favor? And that is unanimous. All right, 3B18. Mr. Fleming.
This is, again, this is considered the exercise of extension. What are we, how many, 1 year?
This is a one-year extension. The original contract, the original proposal and agreement with their audit services team was for a 4-year cycle.
Right.
This is the 4th year of that 4-year cycle. Next year, we'll bring it back to the board through the audit committee, and not necessarily, there's no requirement for the board to change services, but at the end of the 4th year is when we reevaluate and reconsider whether or not we might want to change.
Whether we want to send out an RFP.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And we'll bring that back to you next year if it's your pleasure.
But as of right now, we're just going to extend it 1 more year.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
Ms. Klein, did you have something?
When you entered into this contract with this firm, wasn't it the first time you used them in a while?
This is the first time, this 4-year cycle is the first time we've ever used this firm. We have cycled through audit firms, I think, and since Ms. Halsey's been here, this is the 2nd firm. Since I've been here, it's about the 5th firm that we've used. Not that firms that we've left have been bad.
Right.
We just think there is some health and some fresh blood and some fresh eyes to look at our books. So.
It's always good to change it up every 3 to 4 years.
Yes, sir.
Sounds good. Make a motion.
Is there a motion, Mr.
I'd
Fleming?
like to make a motion that we pass item 18.
A motion on the floor by Mr. Fleming for item 18, second by Ms. Klein. All those in favor? And that is unanimous. Mr. Fleming, 3B19.
Consider extension of delinquent tax attorney contract. We're doing this again for, what's the?
We're just asking for a 30-day extension on the contract. The original contract with the Bob Lunas firm to collect delinquent taxes expires the end of this month.
Right.
We have already solicited proposals and are evaluating the possibility of bringing to you a consideration of firms. We're not predisposing that we're going to change, but we are evaluating firms to consider a new firm to do that service. Throughout that process, we just believe we would be more diligent and do a better job if we could let us take one more month to do the evaluations. And since our next board meeting is not until the first week after the end of the month,
Gotcha.
just to clarify for you and to extend this contract, we thought it would be the most appropriate thing is to let you extend the existing contract this 1 month.
Sure.
And then next board meeting, we'll bring back to you a recommendation on considering firms.
Right. Last year, we did a list of attorneys. That was just, I guess, for general?
Right. Because this contract had a term to it and it specifically did not expire at the same time you were looking for general legal services, right. We did not consider delinquent tax attorneys in that process. That's why we're now coming back with this process.
Are they in this? Are those attorneys that we selected for? Are they in this pool?
Firms that specialize in this service are relatively unique, so we solicit proposals from the major firms in the area that do this type of work. I think we received 4 major firms that do work in this area that to some degree service virtually every school district in the DFW Metroplex.
Okay. Y'all gonna bring that to us, I guess, next board meeting?
We'll bring that to you at the next board meeting.
All right, thanks. I'd like to make a motion that we approve item number 19, consider extension of delinquent tax attorney contract.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Fleming to approve 3B19. Second by Ms. Watton. All those in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. All right. 3B25, consider exercising the extension option of RFP 0905-141-3, paint supplies and equipment.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Chaffin. This is a relatively unique item. Under Texas law, if there is a possible conflict of interest between a board member and a business activity that's of the district, board members should recuse themselves, not vote on the item, and obviously make public any of those potential conflicts of interest. In this particular case, Ms. Watton's husband has a relationship with a firm that we do business with here. It's a known and reported relationship. Mr. Watton and Ms. Watton recognized that the business he was in before she ever got on the board does this type of business, and we use these services. And so to allow the board to consider this separately and allow Ms. Watton to recuse herself from the vote, we pulled this separately from the agenda and wanted to publicly disclose that situation.
All right, board members, Ms. Watton will be recusing herself from the vote on this item. Is there a motion regarding 3B25? Mr. Good.
I move we accept item 3B25.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Good, second by Mr. Fleming. All those in favor? And that is unanimous with Ms. Watton abstaining. All right, thank you, board members. Moving on to item 3C, consider all matters related to the purchase of real property, 13 acres in the Farmers Branch Tax Increment Finance Zone Number 1, the Farmers Branch TIF Number 1, including approval of the plan amendment and resolution.
Ms. Chaffin, members of the board, I'm sure you'll recall in the last board meeting you authorized the administration to proceed with considering the purchase 13 acres of land in the Mercer Crossing area in the Farmers Branch TIF Number 1, and we are doing that. As part of that process, the TIF board and the City of Farmers Branch had to amend the TIF project plan to identify this particular site as a site available for our use. The city has done that. The TIF board has done that. Mr. Good was on that TIF board in part of that process. And at this time, we're asking the school board to approve the same resolution to amend the TIF plan, and therefore all entities involved in the TIF have agreed that this is the appropriate process to go through. We recommend you approve this amendment to the TIF plan.
All right, board members, are there any questions? All right, is there a motion on the floor for this item? Mr. Good.
I move that we accept item C, which is consider all matters related to the purchase of real property, specifically 13 acres in the Farmers Ranch TIF, Zone Number 1, including approval of plan amendment and resolution.
Motion by Mr. Good.
I'd like to second that.
Second by Mr. Fleming. All those in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. Item 3D, consider report on district purchasing policies.
Ms. Chaffin, I'll introduce this, and it's actually a request of the board to reconsider this item. But the board policy was actually rewritten approximately a year ago to match up with a change in law related to bidding requirements. And sometimes it's a little difficult to separate the two, but there's actually bidding requirements and bidding statutes that we're required to follow. And locally, we've adopted some slightly more stringent elements of purchasing authorization. Those specific purchasing elements aren't necessarily included in the bidding statutes, but we do mirror them to quite a degree, and sometimes we even exceed the requirements of the bidding statutes. In the last legislative session, they changed the bidding threshold of what was required to be bid by school districts from $25,000 to $50,000. At the same time, we suggested and recommended that you change your purchase authorization requirements from $25,000 to $50,000. You agreed, but in the interim, since you believe, and rightfully so, we're interested in and being aware of those purchases that might fall in that window between the previous $25,000 and the change to $50,000, you asked us to prepare a purchasing report for you. In each board meeting, we just have a list of items, even though we're not asking for your approval of them. They're subject to administrative approval under $50,000. But anything between $50,000 and $1,000, we give you a report of, so you're aware of things in that range. What we've done for you tonight is briefly summarize some of that information in a memo. Mr. McLaughlin, our Director of Purchasing, has put together a nice little summary of that information. Another thing that's in there is a list of surrounding school districts and their threshold levels of approval requirement. Candidly, we're very open to whatever requests you have. The management processes of preparing the report, frankly, are no more onerous than the process of submitting the individual request down to the lower $25,000 level. Our objective in raising the level to $25,000 limit was simply if we have operational situations where services or goods were being purchased or being requested by a campus or by an administrative office, and we, at our once-a-month board meeting cycles, that could very well delay an acquisition of materials for sometimes 2 months, some maybe possibly 3 if it hit the calendar exactly wrong. While that doesn't happen very often, considering the bidding threshold was raised to $50,000, we felt like that was appropriate. But we're, do what you would prefer. If you guys would be more comfortable seeing purchases at a lower level, not a real operational problem for our purchasing department. Yes, ma'am.
With we have a new system for purchasing report. Is that correct? Or it's more electronic now, our system?
Not yet. We're about, I assume you're talking about our ProLogic Teams accounting system?
I think so. I think you mentioned it last time when we were talking about the purchasing reports, that it's streamlined online now, or it was getting that way.
We currently have an electronic purchasing system. We're migrating to a new.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my question on that is, how much easier does that make that, and what does it change to turnover time versus before?
Well, what happens is even though, and Mr. McLaughlin's done a wonderful job of computerizing the process, and actually Ms. Halsey started it long ago before Mr. McLaughlin moved in this position. To department or a campus submits a purchase request, it's instantaneous. They literally can go into the computer and type in that purchase request, and it's instantaneous. Where that runs into the timing issue is that computer then summarizes and accumulates purchase requests, and especially if it's an individual large purchase request, then it literally is stopped in the purchasing department. The purchasing department says this exceeds that threshold that's authorized by, and I guess we have kind of a hierarchy of approval. If a campus or a department has budget identified, that we've approved in the budgeting process, and the purchase amount is below the threshold that requires board authorization, then it just electronically initiates the purchase. It does require a series of authorizations. The initiator enters it, their supervisor, literally electronically, it comes up on the supervisor's computer. They have to approve it, and there's usually at least 3, sometimes more levels of authorization, depends on the nature of the purchase and the size of the purchase. But if it exceeds that limit, now that limit being $50,000, it literally comes to a halt when it gets to the purchasing office, and it has to stop and wait on Mr. McLaughlin's desk until we have the next board meeting.
It could affect the principals and the classrooms as far as
it could, and I don't want to overstate that. I mean, I truly don't want to overstate that. In reviewing the purchases in the last year, now that we've had a process, we've had that 25 to 50,000. In reviewing the purchases in the last year, probably the majority of the items that would be affected are widespread technology initiatives where we're buying replacement for computer labs, or in case of tonight, the iPads that we're buying for the special ed, things that are reasonably expensive but spread over a large base. If we're buying a whole lab worth of computers, it could very easily get over $25,000, and that would hold that up until the next board meeting.
But something like that is planned. I mean, you don't just wake up one morning and say, I think I'll send a purchase order tomorrow.
500 iPads.
Yeah, again, and that's why I don't want to overstate the problem. This is not something that I believe, and I just in conversation with the staff, administratively, we do not see this as a major element of concern. If the board wishes to lower that threshold, I'll tell you, just operationally, everything we do that causes a manual stop in the process, while it might not for that individual purchase be a huge deal, it adds to that next layer of manually handling a situation. Each time we do that, it adds to the impact on operations. We're asking Mr. McLaughlin to operate a incredibly large purchasing system over there with a relatively small staff, and he's able to do that by mechanizing and using electronic processes to do it. But things we do that cause us to stop and put them in a manual process, and again, we can do it, accumulate the information, but still accumulating it, creating an agenda item for you guys, with the explanations documented and put in the board book, that process just as cumulatively adds the time and effort, and that's, we're making concerted efforts to try to mechanize and make our operations more electronically streamlined, and things like that cause that to stop make it harder to do that.
I can't speak for how efficient or not your process is about developing an agenda item, but I can tell you, in working for another municipality which operates under some of the same rules, to develop an agenda item probably takes 5 or 6 people at least 4 or 5 hours for every single swing in one of them. Now, maybe we're just grossly inefficient, but...
I'd like to think we're more efficient, but...
Yeah, maybe we're just grossly inefficient, but that would be...
You meant the other place that...
Yeah, maybe the municipality where I work is grossly inefficient on the development of agenda items.
We have the good fortune of having a school board that's very aware and knowledgeable about our processes and what we do. You are above average in knowledge of our processes and the information.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
Well, I say that in just in that sometimes we don't do as in-depth the job as sometimes you may have to in your organization, because we
Very
have,
nicely done,
as
Mark.
Dr. Burns used the term, we do have the curse of knowledge in that we skip some of the initial steps because we know you already know them. And sometimes you stop us at the board meeting and you say, no, we don't really know them, explain that a little bit better, and it really reflects on the fact that we've kind of skipped some steps. But it does make our job a little easier, and I think hopefully we're a little bit, it doesn't take us quite that much time, but it does take some hours to do an agenda item.
Ms. Webb, this is something that you asked to be brought up. What are your thoughts and concerns?
My thoughts are that at this time it is still really tight budget-wise, and I do like to be more informed on the bigger purchases. I do like the thought process that the bigger purchases, like technology, are planned out, they're ahead. It's not going to fall behind a cycle because those are such huge purchases. And so my thought process is still that I like to know more before the purchase happens than after for such large purchases. So
Are we still getting a report of the purchases?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, every month, every board meeting.
It's just after rather than before. Not that we would say no to them, but big chunks of money leaving, I feel better knowing before than after.
Board members, other comments? Okay. Did you want to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we move, the purchasing amount. Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Would you let me help?
Yes.
Because we actually have that in board policy.
Oh, okay.
So if I may suggest, you style the motion to direct the staff to revise board policy CH local to reflect a reduction in the purchasing threshold.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to advise the staff to revise CHL local
Very good, and we can do that.
in reduction in the purchasing amount.
All right, motion on the floor by Ms. Webb. Is there a second? There is not a second, Ms. Webb.
That's okay.
Motion dies for lack of a second. Thank you. All right, moving on to agenda item 3E, review board officer election procedures. This is a requirement that we fulfill before elections, and so we have these in our current policy. So board members, are there any things in here that need to be adjusted or changed or addressed or at least acknowledged regarding our election policies? And this also has to do with our officer elections. The board shall review this process each year before the trustee election and make changes as desired. Any changes that anyone would like to recommend or discuss? Hearing none, seeing none, I think those are going to stand for another year. Agenda item 3F is to review and discuss the completed board self-assessment document. Board members, we passed this to this meeting from last meeting because it was late, and it is late again. So since this does not affect the direct operation of the district, I would suggest that we shove it on down for another meeting. Agenda item 3G, consider all matters regarding online posting of district check register. This was added as a supplemental notice, which was posted on the 2nd of May at 10 a.m. Ms. Webb, this is an item that you requested. Would you like to start out the discussion on this, please?
On this matter, many cities are doing this. We've talked about it several times in the board meetings. It's come up again a lot recently, and I would like to discuss and propose that we start pursuing this and make it a policy that we put the check register online. Of course, keeping the private information private.
Mr. Hyatt, can you
Ms. Webb,
speak to the private
Ms.
information?
Ms. Webb actually just nailed the dilemma, the conundrum. The electronic posting of the ledger of a check register, while not terribly simple, it's not terribly difficult either. I mean, it's another one of those things that would just be another process for us to do in our monthly closing. Take a little time, a little effort. The dilemma, and the one that we've struggled with for quite some time, is the concept of any confidential information that might be on that check, on the check register. I'm assuming, and I believe I'm confident in saying that you're probably only talking about our vendor check register, not our payroll check register.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's the real common. The comptroller's office has a recommended transparency program that I believe it's their Gold Star program or something like that.
The annual budget, annual financial report, and check register.
Well, and we have all the elements of that transparency program, except the posting of our check register. The reason we haven't done that, and we've struggled with the process a couple of times, is for the few, and there generally are few, but for the few times on our regular vendor check register there is confidential information. The only way to ensure that in the hundreds, if not thousands, of checks every month is a manual review of that ledger to confirm that there's not. I'll tell you, in a manual review of that kind of system, I can't ensure, I can't guarantee you that there wouldn't be a confidential or private information element that would slip through. It would take a long time. I think, for a practical application, I will tell you the percentages of time that there is confidential information on our regular vendor check register is small, and the risk of a significant private information leak is not substantial. I started to say significant. I think it's significance in the eye of whose information is being released, but it wouldn't be of a substantial amount. But from a practical standpoint, and based on conversations with other districts who do it on a regular basis, they don't scrub the file when they post it. They just take their regular general ledger check register, post it, and assume there's nothing on it that's going to cause anybody any concern. We know just in the last 60 days or so, we've had two relatively well-publicized breaches of confidential information, one from the controller's office herself. So obviously it can happen, and that's our concern. If the board feels like the public need and public good of posting the ledger online is of significant nature, and that's a highest priority to you, operationally not a problem. I mean, it's, like I said, some effort, but not a problem. I would suggest to you that you would have to accept the fact that I can't guarantee you the pure confidentiality of any private information.
And for me, it ties directly into our community buy-in, our community involvement, our shareholders, which I know our highest priority is student achievement. But for me, having the confidence of our stakeholders that we are using our money correctly, that we are spending every penny where it needs to be spent, and that we do know how to run the school district efficiently and effectively is kind of outweighs the other risks. That's my opinion, is that I feel that in today's time, and that what other cities, surrounding cities, a lot of school districts are, and I think, by approaching the other school districts, you found some of the things that they may be doing that may help us, but I find it vitally important that we publish our check register.
Can you quantify how many hours it would take on a monthly basis for someone to review register?
It, Ms. Halsey, you worked with we actually have, just because of public information requests, we've actually gone through the same process for the similar things. Ms. Halsey, best guess?
Our attorney took a week and a half for each check register to go through and redact names.
Oh my goodness.
The problem is it's not simple it's not necessarily immediately obvious what names or elements are confidential. You see a name it's not necessarily mean it's confidential information just because there's someone's name in the check register. But if that name relates to a child support reimbursement or a tax issue or something else that might be considered confidential, then you have to look up who that person is and what the payment's for. I'll be serious. I mean, when we first went through this and go through this, it's probably overkill. I mean, I will admit to you, but it's something that you guys have to help us evaluate the risk you're willing to accept and direct us to take. I would be uncomfortable saying that I can guarantee you that without that level of scrubbing the data, I'd be uncomfortable guaranteeing that we could do it without something possibly slipping through. Again, it would be your direction as to what level of risk you're willing to direct us to take.
What exactly are the ramifications if something goes through? Like the comptroller's office and...
Comptroller's office was very serious, and that would be an extreme case. In the extreme case of Comptroller's office, they've spent, I think the number I heard is $1.2 million in following up with giving information, giving processes and directions to the people whose information was lost on how to protect themselves. So obviously that was significant.
Are they also having to pay the credit agencies for credit protection?
That's part of the cost. I believe the number I heard was $1.2 million that they're paying for 3 months credit monitoring for anybody that requests it. They're paying for an online and live access to support services on how to resolve questionable issues. I can't imagine our check registers having anything that would be quite that broad or quite that significant, but that's the extreme.
Okay.
And that's the type of risk that you could have.
If that's the extreme, what would be a more likely scenario of what would go through and what the ramifications would be?
I honestly can't tell you. I mean, it would just depend on what the individual information was. And
so I guess some of the data that was scrubbed, like if some of that leaked out, what do you know what the ramification would be from what was scrubbed from the attorneys?
It would be the result of a lawsuit. I mean, that literally is the result. As long as nobody cares, there is no result. I mean, if nobody noticed and nobody cared, then nothing happens. If someone was harmed in some way, or frankly, they lost a lawsuit or had a personal legal issues, then whatever their losses were would potentially become our losses.
Yeah. I think the comptroller's issue, when they set up an individual company, they'll assign a company an ID name, taxpayer ID number, and so under that tax ID number, there's going to be an officer of that company, and their Social Security number is always listed, and that was the potential there. So that's something a little bit different than as opposed to a regular vendor, because we wouldn't have that type of information. These are basically taxpayer accounts. Say, for instance, ABC Company, and then you got John Smith, he's an officer, but then you have a Social Security number. That type of information was available. So, just for the record.
Thank you.
That's not correct.
And Mark, what would be displayed in this case if we publish? What kind of data elements would be displayed?
What's traditionally displayed at other cities and school districts is simply a list of checks, check numbers, vendors, and amounts.
So as the vendor, you're just talking about a name?
Generally a name.
Whether it's a business name or an individual name.
Right. And vendor in this case, if it's an individual, that individual is a vendor for our purposes. Yeah.
Right.
And vendors probably, we use it in the nature of the system that we use, but they're not necessarily selling us anything. We could be doing a reimbursement of something as simple as reimbursing a summer school tuition that their kid didn't take the class, and
so examples of things that we would have on the vendor check register. This would be one, a reimbursement.
Sure.
What else?
Any purchases. I mean, obviously the standard supplies, materials, and equipment purchases, if we could have some way to identify that easily, those are no problem. Those are clearly public information. Anybody that wants to know, we can ultimately get that for them. Reimbursement, and I hate to keep using it over, but the reimbursement of a child support payment is the one that causes this.
So tell us how that works.
We withhold a child support payment, and it's on an employee, and then because of court order, they notify us that we're supposed to withhold, deduct child support because they didn't pay it. Somewhere in the process, they actually get their payment processes set up so they are paying, and we find out after we've withheld it that we didn't have to, so we have to reimburse them back for their child support payment. And unfortunately, it happens periodically.
Is that something that already in our system that could be flagged, or in our payroll type of thing that would be,
The issue's not a payroll, it's a repayment.
Right, but that we get notification that we have to repay something, that would be already on our kind of radar, so you could go look for that. So it's kind of a twofold.
Yeah.
It's not like you're just shooting in the dark, hey, do we happen to have something this month?
That's one that comes to mind because it's one of the more obvious. And yeah, anything that we know that's possible that we could maybe identify some kind of flag mechanism to do it. And again, I'm trying to be real honest with you. I don't know necessarily what all circumstances might occur in a period. It depends on that individual payment. And I will tell you that the numbers are small. I mean, we're not talking hundreds of those payments being the items we're talking about. That's part of the problem.
Makes missing them easier.
Do what?
Makes missing them easier and finding them harder.
What I'm trying to express to you. I'm trying to express to you the risk. I believe risk is somewhat small.
But right now, all city or all local